Welcome everyone who is either here in person or on the internet or otherwise watching us. This is Monday, September 22nd, 2022 at 6 p.m. or thereabouts. And this is the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. So by way of introduction, we'll open the meeting. To my left is Sarah Latham. To my right is Mark McIntyre and John Gregory. So do I have a motion to open the meeting?
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor? Aye. Accompanying or assisting us tonight is Alice Cooley, our counsel. Alex Wallach will not be here this evening. Our recording secretaries are Antoinette Edwards and her daughter Emma.
Edwards.
I'm sorry, Edwards, thank you. And our videographer, Sage Certain. So we'll begin the meeting, and I'll just make one comment. Again, we have the unfortunate absent seat of Peter DeWitt, who sat on this board as our resident architect, which is an important spot. We will be looking to fill that in the future. But at the same time, I'd like to advise folks that in the same way that this board can call upon the services of a historical consultant, which we have, in the form of Sally Spanberg, we do have, part of the code, the right to call in as necessary or as we deem necessary an architect to consult on projects. So anyway, let's begin by reviewing the minutes to the extent that they need any review. Otherwise, we'll just move to accept them. Any comments?
They came in today and I have not reviewed them, so
Okay, we can push that.
Let's push that.
Okay, great. No problem. I don't think we need a motion to table that.
No.
Okay. Written decisions, there are none. There was on the agenda a demolition evaluation with a prior request to adjourn to November 14th. I believe that was a prior request. Okay. Public hearings, historic, One Hampton Road. That also was a prior request to adjourn to the 24th. So that's easy. And I believe the same is true with the second application of Jill and Richard Blanchard at 55 First Neck Lane to adjourn to the 24th. I
think that's a new request.
That's a new one? Okay,
Yeah.
let me just double check my minutes. Chair, second.
Yeah, it was adjourned to tonight at the last meeting.
Yes, you're right, okay. So I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to the meeting of October 24th.
Second?
Second by Sarah, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next one is 92 Post Crossing LLC. So Jeff, I know that's you. And so introduce yourself and then I'll explain where we are in the process.
I am Jeffrey Gibbons, architect. For the applicant, 92 Post Crossing LLC.
Right. Okay, so at our last meeting, we said that we wanted to bring in our historical consultant, Sally Spanberg. She did. I don't know if you had a chance, Jeff, to review her report.
I asked Alex for a copy today,
Okay,
and he
no,
said he
we're
couldn't.
happy to give it to you. I think, though, in the scheme of things, unless I'm misreading anything, it's not, she's deemed that it's not of an historic nature that needs preserving to the point of keeping exactly as it is. To the extent it's integrated into the house and everything else, I'm sure that would be appreciated. I don't know, Sarah, if you had further comments on Sally's report?
Yeah, you were right about the, it's a 1900, she thinks, and it doesn't show up on the earlier. And I believe that I'm representing it correctly, that about 50% of the exterior is there. She's worried that if it's moved, that the whole thing is going to collapse. But you should read it and take all of that into consideration.
Right.
But it is not, because it doesn't show up, as you said, on the early maps, although it's early, it was probably moved
From somewhere else.
from another
Right.
location. So it's a good analysis, and she talks about what's there and what's not there, and how it's resting on irregular cinder blocks, and so.
Mhm.
So board members, I can't recall there any specific changes to the barn.
No, we didn't, first of all last week we wanted Sally to take a look at
Right.
this more history before
Right.
before we commented on the plans and the ability to move it.
Right. And then there was a discussion about the doors being replaced with glass, and I don't know if those are still issues. So what do you think? We should have Jeff just take us through the plans, or you're good with them?
No, I think Jeff should take us to the plans. I mean,
Just-
the net is, the report states that while surviving historic accessory structures are generally worthy of preservation, the subject structure does not appear to meet any of the village's criteria for landmark designation. So we've done the homework to learn that doesn't meet the criteria for preservation, so now I think we need to
Okay.
move on. I think we should look at the plans.
Okay. So, Sage, in terms of anybody, in this case Jeff, putting down drawings, how do you want them to face, at what angle?
Well, let's see. I can do it like this.
You might want to give Jim a copy.
Of the,
I didn't bring mine.
of the report?
Mhm.
Oh, didn't you
Oh,
just
here.
give him?
Good.
Just,
Okay.
okay,
I can also forward it. We have it electronically.
yeah. Okay, so Sage, so take us through what you plan to do. And Sage is going to pick it up on the camera. This way Jeff will see it on the two video screens.
The barn was very close to the property line in two places, the back and the side.
Take a few steps to your left. Or-
Yeah, they can.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So the barn
Okay, we're all learning
Yeah,
this one.
and plus, use
was
the podium.
very close to the property line. And when I spoke with Tin back in April, he said that it should be moved to a conforming spot, which is why we proposed moving it.
Right.
They want to use it just because they like it. It's a
Right.
nice structure to have on their property, and they have grandchildren, and it's a
Right.
hazard as it is. I wasn't even comfortable going inside, although I did, and what they wanted to use it for was just like an office or a
Right.
So what are the
So,
plan
yeah, what does
changes
it
to
look
the
like?
to the building?
So,
I'm
so
sorry.
take us through the actual elevations. Keep them in, okay. Don't forget to return it to that 45-degree angle.
Yes.
Great.
Is that quite?
That looks perfect. Yeah, Sage has it right there.
A few of the windows were missing or in terrible shape. What we wanted to do was I'll start at the one end, the barn doors, we want to close them and make them permanently closed. There is currently a door above the barn doors that's falling off its hinges. I guess it was sort of to the loft that was once in the barn. And I thought it was, correct me, well, you'll tell me what you think. I thought it was simpler if we had the same opening in each of the four sides of the gambrel, the cross gambrel. So I replaced the big opening with a small window that would be the same as what was on the other sides. We want to restore the cupola to the top. The only other thing was this window here was a door. There were several doors that had been closed up throughout the sides of the building. That one, the only reason I decided that we should change it just rather than leave it patched was because there's a stair, very steep stair up to a bit of a loft that we want to keep. And so that would bring in light from that side of the building. The front doors were changed, obviously. There was no door on that side. There was a window just like this one. Get out of view of plane here.
The long arms or long pointer, one or the other.
Yeah, very interesting window.
You can move
Um,
that chair like this way, and then maybe you could, maybe that would help.
Yeah. This window,
There you go.
Yeah.
yeah, we wanted to keep the window or repair it and or replicate it. And then the glass doors in the front with side lights. They're really the only light. Most of the other openings in the building are very small. So we wanted to be able to give in, and it does face north. So
Right.
that's why I thought glass doors would be appropriate. And other than that, the form is not changed.
And the
Materials
materials, yeah.
would be the
And the
same.
color.
And in color, well, I don't know about the color. It's painted this crappy brown color now. I mean, I don't know if you'd
agree
want
with
to
you.
keep
Is
that
that a
or whether.
Pantone color? Crappy brown.
Well,
Brown paper.
It was the color of the year last year.
it's sort of the color of the chairs that you're sitting in. And I don't know whether we might want to leave that natural wood, because the house is natural shingle, and it's quite a house.
It's a pretty house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house, and I think that not being brown would make it more in
Yeah.
a part of the property.
More in sync with the property.
Right.
And you think that it won't fall down?
Time will tell.
No guarantees.
Contractor says it won't, but,
Okay, no, I'm just,
yeah,
Did they get money?
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't have a magic eye into the future, so I can't really say that for
Alright.
100%.
If there are
But-
no other comments from the board, I'll ask if there are public comments.
Sarah?
Sarah?
I don't have a problem. I just wanted to, make certain, because we're losing them right and left.
Yeah, I agree.
So any public comment?
I'm sorry
Well,
that got
before we
sprung
go
on
there-
you, but
Yeah, but I agree with the
sorry,
whole,
did
the
you-
idea.
No,
comments?
I'm fine. I think it's,
I have a couple of questions. The window color on the frame on the glass window is color-wise white,
White, yeah,
okay? And
like
will
the
there
other
be-
doors in the house.
And the only exterior light will be the barn light that you have over the doors? There's no other
Yes.
exterior lighting being added?
No,
Those are my only questions.
Okay, great. And those are going to be your basic barn lights?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
here.
good. Yep, yep, good.
Okay.
So with no public comment, then I would...
Wait.
Do we?
What's the paint color gonna be?
white trim, and the boards will be natural.
Natural boards.
and that's noted on the.
is that on the drawings?
I don't think it is, actually.
Should probably
Can you
just add
write it
that to the drawing, and that would be good enough.
I need to write up a decision. I need to
Okay,
look
yeah.
up-
Oh,
I know
that's
what
right,
to
that's
put in
right.
it.
Well, right now, your plan says new tongue and groove wood vertical siding to match existing, which I don't think is your plan.
Matches the existing on the building.
Yes.
On the building, not on the existing barn.
Yeah,
Okay, on the
existing
on the barn.
The house
Okay.
is
Yeah.
wood shingle.
Is wood shingle.
Right,
Perfect.
This is
but it doesn't say
Okay.
color. That's, I guess, my
Okay.
point.
natural.
Natural.
Yeah.
I think if you add that.
Yeah,
Yeah, just to
let's
be
see,
clear,
now,
that's-
let's see, have us pulling out the file, having Jeff mark it, or...
Oh, that's yours.
I mean, you could also do it in the building department. What I do, when I sign off on written decisions, I make sure that stuff is in there. So I would either write it on there and saying, approved with such and such a thing. Okay.
Does he have to do both?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
those have the stamps on them?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So,
All right, so while Jeff is doing that, I'm going to move that we submit to
can I
written
just
decision. Yes, go
clarify?
ahead.
So this is called natural board siding?
Jeff?
How would you phrase that?
The
Wood
si-
siding, maybe it might have tongue oil on it to preserve it longer.
Tongue?
TUNG, yeah.
Okay.
It's a weatherproof.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Use
then
it on baseball gloves, too.
Okay. All right. I'm good. Thank you.
You go, okay. So I
I'm just
move,
gonna write a typical note, all trim is white.
okay.
Okay.
That's helpful, thank you, Jeff. So I move that we submit to written decision with the intent to approve 92 Post Crossing LLC to relocate and alter detached barn.
No, it's not to relocate.
Oh, okay, thank you. Right. Alterations to detached barn.
So you still would prefer we leave it where it is?
Well, based on what Sally said of not thinking that it would survive moving.
Okay. The client doesn't care either way, so it would be more convenient to get around it.
Yeah,
All right.
no, but I mean, I think that, since she said
They
that,
said whatever.
So then, Alice,
guys
you should
want.
include that in your decision. The barn will be sited in the same location.
will remain.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, got it.
Perfect.
Okay,
Second.
second is to move it to written decision. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Got it.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, Alice.
And thank you, Sally.
Okay.
Thank you.
So as soon as Jeff retires from the podium, the next application will be 765 Hill Street.
No, so that,
That has
that's gonna
been-
be postponed.
That's postponed.
It'll
Postponed.
be on 10/12.
Okay,
And do we-
and 10/12, okay.
Yeah.
And that was a applicant request, or that was because I
No,
know
we haven't
engaged
taken
Sally?
jurisdiction yet.
So there's no reason to.
We haven't taken jurisdiction of that one yet.
Oh, okay,
It's a new matter.
okay.
You know, as a policy.
You see how I altered the agendas to note new matters and carryovers?
Yeah,
I know, I like that.
Okay,
I was a big
So,
fan of that,
um,
thank you.
all right, so in which case, then we move to Isabel and,
It's a written decision because it's in the historic district,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I'll have it ready on 10/12.
October 12th, okay. It's that meeting, okay.
Yep.
great, thanks, and you don't have to be here at the meeting.
Okay,
Great.
all right. Thank
So
you.
as much as we like seeing you, Jeff. Okay. Isabel, and I may pronounce his name wrong, is it Wadi? Jordan, LLC, Patrick Jordan, at 39 Linden Lane, to construct an open carport, additions to the residence, and a pool. So when do we have affidavits for that?
Yes, they're in order.
Okay, and is the applicant here? And if the applicant is not here, is the applicant
Sammy's
on-
here.
I thought I saw him come in.
Sammy, is that you, 39 Linden Lane? Okay.
Existing.
All right, tell us who
Good evening,
you
board
are.
members.
Good, how are
I
you?
have an affidavits of mailing and posting which was submitted, but I have
Yeah.
also hard copy for you.
Yep, they're in order, thank you.
Before I start, condolence to the board on Peter's passing on. Whenever you're ready, I'll start.
Affidavit's coming down.
Okay, that goes into the file.
CMX Sammy Architect for Patrick Jordan and Mr. Wadi Jordan, owners of the property on Linden Lane, 39 Linden Lane.
I'm sorry, do we have
z-
plans for this? Are they electronically or are they going on the table?
I have both submitted plans, and I have also, I can put them on the table. if
Okay,
need be.
so,
Alex,
so-
Alex isn't here, should probably put one on the
right.
table.
Yeah, so Sammy, if you can just put them on the table at a 45-degree
I have them
angle.
also in a larger format, if that would be-
No, that camera behind you is gonna grab them, so just aim them at that camera
I would just go to this page as a start.
yeah,
for the start. Let me just,
and the ground
quickly
plan.
walk you through the existing building.
Okay.
To put a little context.
Okay, all right,
The existing
and
building is
so you just have to face that at a 45-degree angle to the rear. There you go. Okay.
okay.
Sage, how we doing? Whoop.
We could put bigger ones.
This new system doesn't.
As I said, I do have large format drawings.
Sage, would a bigger one help?
Well,
A larger
We have
format?
them.
go down,
Okay.
What happened to our overhead thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
the digital one.
It's not
helps.
working.
I
What happened to
know.
that one? Yeah,
I mean, I did submit digital.
Right, we
Yes,
did,
yes.
but
there we go,
How much?
huge plans.
Okay. So share with us, and again, this is
So,
in the historic district, so siting
Yes.
is an important
yes.
element.
On the north side of Linden Lane,
Yes.
Linden Lane is a dead-end street off of South Main, going towards Lake Agawam. The existing building is a 1.5-story cottage, brick cottage, with 2 dormers on its roof, a central symmetrical entrance, with windows on either side. The pattern of the brick is something that I'm very familiar with on some of the other projects that I've worked in the works of those Atterbury, in that the swell belly bricks, what was considered a reject brick, and it was multicolored, so he used that to create a pattern of texture on the building, and this is similar to that.
Mhm.
I'm not sure whether, I have not found any documentation whether this is a Atterbury building or not. It could very well be that on one of his other jobs there were bricks left over, and this was
Mhm.
used on this house, but that based on basically some other details of this house, I would say that that's probably.
So you're saying, and sorry for interrupting, the house was designed by Atterbury?
No, it was not
No?
designed by
Okay.
Atterbury. But what I'm saying is that the texture of the brick on the building is very similar to some of the other
Okay.
Atterbury buildings.
Okay.
For instance, as an
Okay.
example.
So it has an historical context?
Exactly. It
Okay.
has a historical context in this.
Okay.
Can you
as
use the
an
podium
example-
mic for me?
Oh, yeah, on the
Can you
podium.
just speak at the podium for
So speak
me?
into the
Yes.
podium, and then you have to, there you go. Speak into the microphone, not the podium.
So,
Speak into the podium.
Just given my height, I usually speak
Setup
into the
work here.
podium. That's another story.
as an example, the Parish Museum's last edition on Job's Lane has this similar pattern of brick.
Okay.
Atterbury's own house on Atterbury Hills is not there anymore, but the carriage house, which I'm actually doing some work in addition to right now, has exactly that pattern.
Right.
What I'm saying is that most probably this brick was available at the time this house was built, and it was used in the same pattern.
Right.
or pattern. It could have been one of the masons, for instance, that was working on that project. It has not been listed on any of the Atterbury's researches, books, and so forth as one of his houses.
Okay.
But I respect that because it is very much a characteristic of this building, and we're following up on that to some extent. What we're proposing here is an addition of a porte-cochere covered carport on the north side of this building, set back from the front of the existing building. You'll see it in this page here, where it shows the context of the new in relationship to the existing, and on top of that carport, there's going to be a one-bedroom added, one bedroom and bathroom added.
Right.
to the
And then you're
residence.
putting in a pool as well?
And of course, yes, in the rear of the house, a patio and a pool
Right.
is going to be
And
added.
are there any plans to alter the landscaping?
No, there's no, there are a couple of trees, older trees on the property. We're not planning to remove those.
Okay,
We're working around those.
Okay.
I mean, yes, one of the trees, which is to the south, it's a pair of trees. They're quite overgrown. They need to be pruned a bit. They're hanging over the existing building,
Right.
but we're not planning to remove those
Right.
at the moment.
in particular, the tree on the north
Correct.
side?
No, we're not planning. If anything, that basically anchors the property on
Yeah.
that side,
Gorgeous
and
trees.
it works
Yeah.
out very
Okay.
nicely for us.
All right,
in that
thank you.
sense. And being that it's also on the north side of the property, as far as the movement of the sun and so forth, it's not going to affect us, so that's
Okay.
all fine. As far as the neighborhood, to either side of the house are existing, on the north side, a 2.5-story house, and on the south side, a 1.5-story house. The southern property is more in scale to our property. The property to the north, which is a 2.5-story, actually very much similar to what we're proposing on the north side. If it does have a porte-cochere or a carport, if you may. And this is basically a repetition to some extent of that pattern going down Linden Lane. On the main building, we're not doing any work really. What we're planning to do, just that in the back of the house, there was an addition made back in the 70s. It used to be a garage. A garage was converted later on in the 90s or so to a kitchen. There are basically a couple of windows opening up to the rear of the property. There's not much of an interaction between the interior of the building and the rear of the property. So we're basically opening up the back of the building a bit more to the rear side of the property in this process. And we're doing that by pretty much extending to the south side, the north-south corner of the property, this corner over here. Sort of, I don't want to call it the greenhouse, but it's all glass wrapped around to bring a little bit more of light and also open up the living room, which is on the southern side of the building in the existing portion of the house, onto the rear yard. But again, none of these are affecting the existing building as far as modification to its architecture, existing architecture. Just now, John, for your recommendation, I'm just going to go straight to my front facade facing Linden Lane. So what we're proposing here is to carry a base, or if you want to call it a tray of brick, on the new addition. It is set back from the front portion of the house. This basically ties the whole house together with the brick base. And then on top of that, we're basically using the language of stucco and timbering to add this 1.5-story carport and a bedroom above it. We're pretty much replicating on the center line of the carport, pretty much exactly mimicking the dormers that are on the existing house, centered on the porte-cochere. And the arch is something, again, being that even though I don't ascribe this house to Atterbury, but he did introduce arches of this nature in many of his houses, and we did some research on that, and I have documentations if you want to see some of the historic houses of Atterbury, that this type of arch occurred in a lot of his carports. So we picked that up and pretty much introduced it on the three sides of this carport. This is the north side, and then to the rear, it's the same thing with a 3-bay window for the bedroom at the rear. And again, with the timbering, we tied the old and the new together, stucco and timbering, and extended the roof lines, pretty much same angles, same architecture. We chamfered the ridge line on the north side because it interfered with the pyramid plane, even though I did not want it, but that's what it is. Besides that, I have some views, 3D views of it too. As far as the material, again, 3 materials are being used: brick for the base of the new addition, stucco painted white, and half timbering in a light gray to tie all the trim work in the house.
So you're not replacing windows in the original house?
Yes.
You are?
Not all the original house, but definitely on the rear of the house.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, that's
Yes,
necessary.
on the rear of the house, yes. We're changing those windows. Because proportionally, I wanted them to be more in line with the original house's window sizes. Because the rear windows right now are quite shallow and short. So we worked on those. The patio is off of the rear greenhouse, green room, kitchen, dining area, and the pool anchored in the back, pretty much centered on the rear yard. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you'd like.
Okay. Board members, do you want to go first? Okay.
I'm troubled by the fact that it's the existing building with its Lammy bricks is quite quiet, and Lammy being the burned ends, and Atterbury it is not, and therefore I think the introduction of Atterbury-esque features, including the arch and this Tudor Revival use of half timbering and stucco. It really creates a false sense of historicity that we avoid in historic districts and in the village, basically. There's an idea that in new construction and new additions that there are boundaries of distinction between old and new, and I think by introducing these elements, these Atterbury-esque elements, you've blurred the line, and there's no longer a clear introduction. And if you go to the north elevation, it's an entirely different building than the existing south elevation, both in scale and texture and material, and even the dormer that's been introduced is larger in scale and a different material, not a different material, but it's larger in scale than the existing. And also I think that the fact that the colors are so different on the south elevation, it actually makes the new addition look even larger as it's contrasted with the dark lammy brick on the existing south elevation. So I would say no if I were king of the forest, because I think that it's too confusing, and it's not a human scale.
All right, we'll go in order left to right. Mark?
May I respond?
You know, I
That's
think
okay.
it'd be best, Sammy, if we hear from the board, and then
Sure.
that way we won't be repeating ourselves.
I think the basic shape of the house and what you've done to improve it is a great improvement over what's there. I think you changed the materials on the dormers to stucco from what was originally shingled. And I think I would prefer them to be shingle, and I think I kind of agree that if the entire house was brick and not with the timbering on it, it would quiet down and make it a more cohesive house. And the other question I have is, do you plan to have any form of exterior lighting on this house? Because there's no fixtures on here. There's not, because I know there's currently a hanging fixture over the front door that's not.
I'm not proposing any exterior lighting. on the
Okay, at
house.
all,
No.
front or back? Okay. Okay.
John?
If it weren't for the neighboring home that has a similar type of, design, and it's shown in the photo you've taken here, I think it's a nice addition to the house, or to the current house. It's actually kind of in keeping with the design of the neighbor's house. Maybe it needs to be quieted down a bit. But overall, I think it's kind of an interesting design. And my biggest concern is saving the trees in the backyard, is obviously, and the fact that it's a setback from the original house, to me, makes it subservient to the original house. And I imagine that clip of the roof is because of the,
Pyramid.
that's the only thing that looks kind of strange to me, is having to do that, but I understand why it was done. That's it.
So, Sammy, my comments are in sync with those of the board members. I think, to Sarah's point, the use of the country Tudor barn, like I may be describing it all wrong, but it does two things. I think it's a false sense of history, as you say, and then it makes that addition look grander in scale than I think it otherwise is. And I'm also concerned with the siting on the property, because I think the house to the east has a bit more property. I may be wrong, but at least it looks that way. And maybe it looks that way because it's all white, as opposed to this, which is brick and
This house?
the timber and the white house to the east, right, which is the one that also has the
Right.
archway, court pusher.
I have a photo of it here.
Right. And so what I think there's consistency in terms of concern about the use of the stucco and the timber. And perhaps it would look different, to John's point. I think, Mark, you were saying similar things, if it was toned down a bit by using material that was consistent with the rest of the house. I think in your case, you'd like to see something smaller, less massive, less scale, in a lower scale, to make it a little bit more subservient to the house.
It's as big, if not,
It looks that way, yeah. And so I know the pictures to the other houses. I'd almost like to see a streetscape of the two houses to either side of it in whatever finish you decide to do. And I don't know if you're going to scale it back. I don't know if you're going to choose to change the materials. But I'd like to see whatever it is with the two houses on the side drawn in proportion.
Okay. I'll be happy to,
Did you folks think that would help? I mean, we know the houses, but I think,
No, I agree that that the addition seems, very large compared to the original house. And, I mean, going back to the comment about clipping that roof, if the roof line was moved to the point where it could be squared off, actually it makes it a bit more, it makes it a smaller addition, obviously, but it doesn't seem overwhelming compared to the original structure.
it would also not add that additional aspect of a clipped corner, which
Of-
was,
Well, that's what- yeah.
of
is
one
So
more
it
thing.
solves two
which is
problems.
confusing.
So you could keep the archway in some form, just move the entire house, the addition to make it a bit smaller, and less massive in appearance.
It looks not unlike an approach in a English market town to a stable block,
right,
and I find that disquieting.
yeah, it's not consistent with the neighborhood that has an 18th century house on the corner.
Yeah.
That's, basically a Revolutionary War type house, than to have an English Cotswold.
Or Tudor revival.
So, Sammy, I think you've heard,
So if I may
yes,
respond to some of your comments.
of course.
first of all, the material that I've used is not something that I grabbed out of nowhere.
I'm sure.
These are material that are actually
We
existing
know-
on
we
the,
know
on the,
you
if
and
I may,
every-
if I
yeah,
may,
And every architect gives everything a
yeah,
lot
if
of
I may
thought.
comment
Yes,
on the exterior of the building, existing building is a brick building.
mhm,
It was added on to. Timbering, half timbering, and stucco is on the existing building. It's not something that is introduced new to this building. This was done back in the 60s and then converted again later on in the 80s, 90s. So I used the same material, same language as the existing building to expand on the new. If anything, by just shift or this representation of the exterior of the building on the street side, it makes more of a distinction between the old original house and the new additions to it. It is set back from the main building.
How many feet?
A distance of basically, you can see over here, this is the main building. I'm basically going halfway down the width of the building for the new addition. This can't be exaggerated more than what I've proposed. And as far as the height and mass of this building, when you say
large, if you look at the last pages, I've drawn sections of this. This is not a large addition. This is the smallest addition that can be going over there. You actually, in that bedroom, you cannot walk to the side walls where the windows are unless there's a dormer there, both in the front and the back. Otherwise, the pitch of the roof basically stops you at a height of about 4.5, 5 feet. It starts pitching. So any smaller than that, you cannot have a habitable space in that upper floor bedroom. Yes, the height of the size of the scale of the new dormer on top of the porte-cochere is just a touch larger than the existing, and I'll look into that. And the reason I did that was that because this is a distance of half the length of the building set further back, I wanted to make it just a touch larger so that the 3 dormers would read more in one scale. But if this is a concern of yours, I'll be happy to exactly copy the same dimensions of the existing dormer on this new edition. And by all means, again, as far as the material of that dormer, I'm open to carrying the same material, which is shingle, on that new dormer. I just wanted to kind of not introduce too many materials, and that's why we went to stucco. But if the board requests the shingle dormer, I'll be happy to convert that to a shingle dormer. But the rear of the house, yes, it looks larger than what it is, but I'm proposing an addition, and this is not a large addition. This is a 1-bedroom addition and a porte cochere. I'm not asking for much over here. It's not that I have much of elbow room on this side
It's
either.
a small house to begin with. so, yeah.
And to start with, again, compared to everything else on that street, this is a minuscule little cottage. Everything else is a much larger scale. And to that point of yours, Jeff, I'll be more than happy to draw context over there so you'll see that.
Yeah, I would say, Mark, not all the houses are large scale. I can point to half as many houses on that street that are small scale.
Modest scale.
No,
Modest. modest.
I didn't say large. They're large scale. I said
So
they're
let's
larger than
so
this.
Let me clarify one thing. You said the porte cochere was going to begin halfway down the house.
Correct.
The whole house, or just the brick portion of the house?
The brick portion of the
The
house.
brick portion, so it's
Well,
not half, so it's,
Let me show, I have an elevation.
Yeah, it is, right. It's here in
Right.
the ground plan.
It starts right here.
it starts,
Or no, right here.
right, so it's half,
You can see.
so
like,
it's,
like a page,
so it's not,
page
so
one.
let's
That's the
just be
second.
clear. The house is X number of feet,
Mhm.
and this is a third back, not a half back.
Exactly, it could be further.
Right. Okay, just want to
It's
clarify.
halfway down the brick portion of the house.
Right, which is not half, which is, but
Not the half
because
of
there's
the
another
correct.
third,
Third.
mathematically,
Correct.
it's a third of the house that
Correct.
is down. I just want to
Yes.
be clear.
Well,
The,
Okay,
I have
and
some-
perhaps when you do the streetscape, the recess, whether it's, you choose to move it back further or not, is your call. It might resolve this concern.
I didn't understand what you're saying.
So the issue of this presentation, the scale of the presentation, the mass of the presentation to the street may be resolved if in fact the streetscape, done in proportion and in perspective, shows what you're, the point you're trying to make is that it's going to be set further back.
Yes.
So I'm saying a visual streetscape.
In the
might
context
make
of the neighboring
Right,
properties,
exactly.
yes.
I would also point out that the 60s or 70s edition is an implied timber. It's not.
Yes.
It's not a.
It's not true timbers, no, correct.
No.
No,
And
correct.
so therefore, it's clear that it's an addition,
Correct.
rather than the historical aspects that
Correct.
have been shown.
And it's
Yes.
also in the rear of the property.
It's,
on the
and
side.
and it's at
Correct.
the very back, rather
Correct.
than 1/3 the way down or whatever. So
Correct.
I don't think there's any confusion that that's an addition.
No, and I did not by any means say that that's not an addition.
No, but you said that it sprang from that, but.
Well,
the-
I'm saying that I'm inspired by not inspired, but I'm using the material on that edition to extend onto the new edition. Yes.
But not in totality.
Not in totality, yes.
Okay. All right, any further comments that would give Sammy some help before he comes back? Nope.
I think we've given a lot.
Any public comment? Okay, so, Sammy, you've heard the comments from the board. In addition to the streetscape, I think, there was concern about the materials and the scale and massing of it.
So again, let me ask another question regarding the materials. Again, I'm using materials that are existing on the house. Are you suggesting that I should
I'm
not?
suggesting I don't see anything on this house that looks like a Tudor house currently.
Okay.
So while that unfortunate.
Well, the
design-
rear, the
while
rear,
oh, no, I'm sorry, you can't look at what that unfortunate, currently sort of
Okay.
unfortunate
I
looking
see.
Addition.
addition that
I
was put
see.
on in the 60s had. I think
I
that's
see.
just the easiest, fastest way to do it. That is not of a particular style.
Okay,
And it was not of a style that was attempting to mimic past history.
okay.
And I think, I don't think, from my perspective, I don't think the size is so much of an option as it is in the coloration and the attempt at making it of Tudor. It just makes it look so much
Fine.
massive compared to the original house. Because if I read the floor plan, the width of your garage extension is not quite as wide as the original house, or they're
Correct.
one-to-one.
They're close to one
They're
by one,
close
but
to
it's
one,
not.
but just
It's
not quite,
basically,
but-
as I say, it's a very
Yeah,
small
if
house.
that-
And
If that came back a foot too, that would be great.
Yes.
But I think it's when you make it white and you add this sort of contrived history to it, it also makes it look massive against the streetscape, and especially against the house next door.
so one of the
So different
concerns
materials.
of
A different
the-
choice of materials can make
Yeah,
all the
make
difference.
all the
That's-
Yes, one of the
Pushing
concerns, obviously, in a perfect world, we would have built this addition out of brick. The owner does not have the means to do that, so I have to use.
Well, I'm sure I'm sure you can
but-
come back with other
But,
options.
but I
for it.
could work, I mean,
They just
definitely
aren't-
scaling it back
They just don't
from,
look quite as historically contrived as
Correct.
what's currently there.
fine.
That's what I'm saying.
I get your point
Yeah.
now, yes, okay.
Because I think the work you've done in the back of the house is beautiful. Take the timbering out of it, but just the scale and the proportion of the back of the house looks
Very
much better.
Okay.
It's a
very
big
well.
improvement.
Okay.
Yeah, and although it's not on the ground plan, and all your renderings show you preserving that huge tree in the back, which makes us really, really
Mhm.
happy.
I make sure I put
And I'm
it
sure
on
the
the
neighbors,
plan.
I'm sure it makes the neighbors really, really happy.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Sammy, again, there was no public comment here or on the internet. Sage, am I correct on that? Okay, so you're going to be coming back to us. You're requesting an adjournment, which we're happy to provide. Do I have a second on that?
Second?
Okay, all on adjournment? Okay. All in favor? Do we do it right?
Okay, so Jeff made the motion and John seconded.
Second.
Mark did.
Mark seconded, okay.
Oh, I forgot, we don't, well, okay, you,
I just want to make it clear.
right, you're writing the written decision eventually. Okay,
Can we
all in
hold it?
favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, thank you, Sammy.
Thank you, Sammy.
Bye, Samak.
Okay,
Excuse me, Chair, can I just say that it's very hard to hear the applicant, it's very garbled. I can hear all of you perfectly clear. And the
okay,
last thing I could hear, but I cannot hear the applicant,
Oh.
it's garbled.
okay.
Okay.
So I think that's a matter, and Sage was trying to help out in terms of having everybody who comes before and stands in front of the podium to speak into the microphone, and then after they place the pictures on the table, to immediately move back to the microphone.
I still couldn't hear him even when he was at the podium. It's almost like it's something's wrong with it, but we'll do the best we can.
Okay. I know, Sage, are you
There's
hearing it
always
well
the
on
tape.
your headset?
Yes, I'm hearing it. I'll try to get it right first.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to non-historic. The Heart of the Hamptons has requested an adjournment to October 12th. I think that's a new request, so we should move to accept the applicant's request to adjourn to the 12th. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's adjourned. Then we have Andrew Spricer, which is a carryover case at 85 Hildreth Street. And I see CU here, so CU, introduce yourself, please, as you have done before, and let's see where we are today. And
This is CEO Liu, I'm the architect.
just lower the mic to you. There you go.
This is CEO Liu, I'm the architect for 85 Hildreth.
Great.
Is it possible to turn the podium
What, to turn the podium?
so you can stand there and talk?
It's
it's
a
like
little,
an
it's a little bit
angle?
tough.
I'll just keep moving on that floor. Go ahead.
You could change.
You can
could
move the mic. There you go.
Okay,
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 all right,
all
I
right.
can do some work on this system.
all right.
Okay, and then after you go to the picture, I mean, the plans, then go back to the mic. And see you, we're most interested in the changes that were made from the last time.
Alright.
And I see you brought samples as well, so.
Yes, last time I was like,
Okay, up,
looking
back,
for
back.
this time I taped them all together. So, the most important thing is.
Sage, are you picking her up?
I'm picking it up too much because she pointed at the speaker, so it's feeding.
Oh, okay.
It's set up in a particular way for it.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
So,
See what I mean?
Yeah.
So you might have to move.
You're
to
gonna have to, you're gonna have to go
You
and
have to go
speak
back to the
from
podium.
from the podium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still in that same direction. You gotta stand behind the podium.
That's
Oh, that's
he's
really
trying to
like
do
a
an
lot of
SNL
running.
skit with
Oh, is it possible, Sage, next time, like, you set up a
We don't
different
have
way, so
pointers,
if
do
people
we?
can point
I'm
easily?
working
Oh,
or
perfect.
a gavel.
All right, so, so
Okay.
so the door, that's like, it's obviously a controversial topics, and then the homeowner decided to give them up. And so that's the first major changes. And then the pool house door that John
Can you give me
mentioned
more
that
detail than the owner decided to give them up? What did he take them to and what color are they?
it's gonna be gray.
Okay. So what you're saying is the black windows that we objected to last time have been given up, and you're now
Not the
bringing.
window, the
and
doors.
The doors, the ones that we objected to were given up, and you're ordering ones now that match all the others, and they will be the same color as all
Yeah.
the windows in the house.
Yeah,
Right.
pick it
Okay.
up.
And that color swatch is specified in the plan?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have the?
And
full
we should
plan?
also probably say exactly where these doors were that are being changed.
This is all,
Well,
yeah.
it's not there
Can I see the
anymore,
file?
so.
Supposed to be 85 Hillcrest, okay. Thank you. And see, we are looking at, let's make sure we are looking at the same exact plans.
September 22nd.
Okay. So,
Just a second.
because there was so much of an issue on materials, I'd like to see where on the plans they're specified.
Oh, it's on the right here. Right in this box.
Okay, okay, so we must have, what's the plan that I'm looking at here? Sorry.
This is August what date?
Because the rental room is actually written right on top of the A2.
A2.
Next page. Yeah.
Right,
Not,
right, but how about the materials? Oh, I see, okay, got you.
9/21/22.
Okay, there we go, thank you, CEO. Okay. So all windows to be dove gray with simulated divided lights, okay?
It's right here.
Yep,
Yes.
we got that,
Got it?
okay? And the siding to be cedar shingles with 5.5-inch exposure, warm tone light gray. You know, in all of these, it's probably best to actually specify, I'm sure that dove gray has a number.
It's just,
And who's the manufacturer? Anderson, dove gray. Okay, great, all right. And then the shingles, warm tone light gray, semi-transparent, pre-stained Monterey gray.
It's Monterey gray.
And the manufacturer on that? And any number?
No number. SBC.
What,
SBC.
SBC?
Yep, that's the manufacturer.
Okay, Sarah Baker Charlie,
It's
Sarah
kind of
Baker
odd,
Charlie.
there are no
Okay,
product numbers or specifications.
if it's not on the swatch, we may ask you to
Put this
put
on the record.
put those actually in the files,
Oh, sure.
okay? Yeah. Okay, roof to be cedar roofing, okay. Generally,
No, it's fine. The two things that were questioned last time were the doors in the back and the setback area, which
Right.
they now amended.
yeah,
And there was a issue on the side where stairs were still existing outside what was a window that's been changed in this drawing that I see.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it was mistake last time.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
corrected, but it's corrected in this
It's
drawing, sorry.
corrected. Yeah,
Okay.
last time, My dear daughter took it out of the plan and forgot it on the elevations.
Okay,
I
Right.
could go back to the old ones, they were there, but they're not here now.
right, okay.
You took it out.
So as of the last time, I don't think any of us had issues with the coloration last time. It was just that set of inset doors that needed to match
Yeah,
the house.
exactly.
And I think Peter had found two issues that they wanted corrected that had been corrected.
The south elevation.
So I think at the end of a long path, John?
I mean, my only concern is having the detailed specifications on the colors, on the finishes. Just having a manufacturer and color name doesn't do it for me. I want the details.
Then why don't we suggest that they put the actual sample in the file?
I think that would satisfy.
Yeah, and then what we can do is, when,
Can you just bring me the sample for a second? Because I don't think, from what I know, the Anderson sample for the windows. Because sometimes they're not, it's maybe a manufacturer problem, to be honest with you. Yeah, so they don't give it a number or color. So I think we just add this into the file so we can have it. That's fine. You can bring me another one or you can give us
No,
this
you
one.
can have it.
Okay. But those, to my recollection, those are the two outstanding issues.
And then also, last time you mentioned you want the double hung window for the side laundry room. I changed that.
That's all.
and the long windows/doors in the back, those have been,
Those have now gone to all windows, all doors and windows will be back.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's open it up to public comment. Anybody on the internet there? Nope. Okay, in which case, I will move that we accept the application as submitted, planned September 22nd, with the samples, and the other sample was to be included in as well,
The color sample?
for the, was it the shingles?
The shingles and the windows.
And windows in.
Windows we've got,
Windows we've got,
Is it September 21st?
22nd.
22nd.
Okay.
The shingles is rather large, and I don't know how to take it out. I have small ones in my office, so I can bring it around my.
Okay,
Okay.
that's okay, Steve.
Is it?
Okay.
Can I see the shingle for 1 second?
Yeah, if it has a number
Let's just see
on
if there's
it.
a
But
notification.
I don't know how to take it out.
No,
but
no,
I have little.
That's okay,
Okay.
just let me see for 1
There's one
second.
with a rubber band.
Okay. Is there any actual color marking on here? This is no. Who's the
It's
name?
just shingle gray.
No,
that's
no, it
all.
actually has a
It's
color.
like there's gotta be some
It's-
spec number.
No, it's called Monterey Gray.
Monterey Gray, and she
And
said
these,
that.
these are the shingles,
It's Monterey Gray shingles.
and but this is a manufacturer.
Olympic,
As long as we have the sample in the file, that's all that matters.
Olympic.
Olympic.
It's a manufacturer.
Monterey
Olympic.
Gray. And you can you bring us a smaller sample? Great.
Gray, okay, great. All right, we're making progress.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so there's no public comment, and let's put this back in this file.
Oh,
You got that? Thank you, Mark.
Can make a motion now.
Okay, and I move that we accept the application of Andrew Spreitzer at 85 Hildreth Street with the plans and samples as submitted. The plans were dated September 22nd, and samples submitted this evening.
Yep.
Second on that?
Second?
Second by Mark, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
John, okay, John, okay.
Thank you.
So, all right, thank you, CEO. Okay. So that's approved with samples. Okay. Evan Steen and Shari Hellman at 64 Layton Avenue. Are those folks here or on the internet?
Here, I have, Anthony is on the internet, so I'm not sure just because this is new with Charles, but he is on. Do you want me to let him in, or Charles, do you do that?
I'm bringing him in right now.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
All right, can everybody hear and see me?
Yes, and now just introduce yourself, and then we'll proceed.
Anthony Vermandois, 68 Union Street, Sag Harbor. I am the architect for Evan Steen and Sherry Hellman. I'd like to go into screen share if I could.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, bear with me for a moment. All right, can you see my screen with the site plan?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start briefly with describing the changes that we've made since the previous meeting. Then I'm going to go straight into the drawings one by one, a little more detail of what we've done.
Okay.
So briefly, the changes that we've made is that we've reduced the length of the proposed addition by 6 feet. We've reduced the height of the proposed addition so that now the ridge, which previously was 1 foot 1 inch taller than the existing ridge, will now be approximately 9 inches lower than the existing ridge. We made the second floor balcony considerably smaller to avoid any impact on the neighbors. And we also, to reduce the number of windows on the sides of the addition. I want to go right now. I just want to start with, jump right into S1, which I have on the screen now. So what I have here is the existing structure, and the proposed additions are shaded. So you can see here, here, and here. That's the proposed addition, which is the existing first floor plan is 1,568 square feet, and we're proposing to add 368 square feet total, net total, to the first floor. Now, what you have here is the garage, which I have not shaded, simply because the proposed rebuilt garage will actually be smaller than the existing garage, considerably smaller than the existing garage, which is why there was nothing to shade. The existing garage is 33 feet long by 20 feet wide by approximately 18 feet tall. The proposed garage would be 28 feet long by 12 feet wide by 11 feet tall. So that's a reduction of approximately half the square footage of the garage, or a little bit over 300 square feet. So that's really all I want to discuss with the site plan at this moment. I'm going to go into what you should have in your file is A5-1. I'm not sure if you can see that on my screen now, or if I have to exit and re-enter screen sharing.
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what I'm going to start here, I formatted the elevations a little bit differently from last time, I think, to just hopefully help you better understand what's new and what's proposed for the structure. So up here on the top left-hand corner, you have the existing house viewed orthogonally from the street, from Layton Avenue. And what you see here is the existing garage. Now, keep in mind, this is set pretty far back from the existing front facade, but viewed orthogonally in 2 dimensions, that's the way it would appear. So you can see that very high ridge height of that existing garage, and the roof shape of the existing house, which is very different from that of the garage, has a very shallow pitch to it, existing. Now, what we have on the bottom left-hand corner is the proposed, what you can see from, what you would see from the street if it was possible to see it 2-dimensionally. As you can see, not very much change to the house itself at all. You can see a little tiny shred of the addition poking up over this lower ridge height here, and then you see this addition, which is much further back than the set much further back than the existing front facade. And here is the proposed garage. Once again, this is set very far back from the front, proposed front facade. Okay, moving on to the rear elevation. So here is, once again, upper right-hand corner is existing, lower right-hand corner is proposed. So what you'll see here is the existing sunroom, and our proposed sunroom is a little bit wider. And then you'll see there's the existing ridge of the house, and then there's an existing kitchen dining room area here, which is set a little bit lower than the front part of the house. So here is our proposed second story, matching the same roof pitch as the front. Once again, now the bridge here is a little bit lower than the proposed. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the balcony when we get to the floor plan, because it's a little bit hard to describe what we're doing in the elevation. I want to jump now to the side elevations. So here you can see the east elevation. Hold on a second, I gotta move us. There we go. Okay, so here's, once again, top is existing, bottom is proposed. So this is the higher ridge of the front part, existing front part of the house, the lower ridge of the existing rear part of the house. These are all existing windows. This is the existing sunroom. So what we've done here is we've stretched this a little bit further back, but basically the sunroom is the same length, even though we've made it wider. It's basically, and you'll see this on the other side as well, basically the same length and same amount of windows as is currently existing. What we've tried to do here is line up the fascias so there's no break that in that and the lower roof ridge, and really just 3 new windows on the side of the house. Then moving on to A3, I'm going to move us again. Okay, so A3, once again, you've got existing proposed. Here's the sunroom, a little bit further, this sort of intermediary piece here where we have the stairs. Once again, basically the same number of windows or same amount of glass. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 windows and a glass door on this side. We're proposing 6 windows that are slightly narrower, and this is actually just a solid panel, not a door, and just 2 windows on the second floor. That's it. Going to go back to A2. One thing that's maybe worth considering here too is, here's the existing garage with that, which is right on the property line with that 17 or to 18 foot ridge height, and the proposed garage, which is, I made a mistake here. There wouldn't be any windows on this side of the garage. That should be solid, but the height is the same here, 11 feet. So reducing the height of this from 17 feet plus to 11 feet. And finally, just to wrap up here quickly, I just want to go to just mention that balcony, what we're doing here. We wanted to make sure that it's clear that this is not something you go up on and have parties. It's just for a couple of chairs and a little table. And we didn't want to bring, it looked a little bit weird to just have even though we didn't need the total width, it looked weird to have the railings just return in and stop short of the edge of the sunroom below. So we're just proposing to have a couple of planters here. That's going to prevent anybody from going to the edge of that roof there and being able to see neighbors, or for the neighbors to be able to see them. So those are the changes that we've made since the last meeting.
Start right to left this time. John?
Yeah, sorry. A few things. One consideration for this house, well, first of all, they're very narrow lots on this street. And because of the way you've created this addition, it projects into the backyard much differently than it currently does. So I would like to see the adjoining properties and how their houses sit in comparison to what you're suggesting here, because you're adding additional glass on the back of the house, and with that projecting further into potentially the yards of both neighbors, I think that's potentially a light pollution issue. And I still have the same issue with the second story terrace off the back of the house. It's small lots, very narrow lots. You're looking into neighbors' yards on both sides. I think it should be removed completely. And the windows on that side, I think, on the second floor, there are way too many windows for the same reason that I expressed for the light pollution on the first floor addition. And that could, I suggest it being changed from 4 of those big doors to 2 windows in the center of that section of the house. But
I would have to kind of disagree with you there.
We're not, this,
First of all-
but just, hold on. Just wait for all the board's comments, and then you can respond.
Okay.
Mark?
Thank you, John. Okay, so let's go through some particulars. First of all, thank you for hearing us and taking down the height of the extension, because now it's not as looming over the original structure, which I appreciate. You took how many feet off it looks like you took 12 feet off the original, last time we had a plan, you took 12 feet off the length of the house?
No, 6 feet total off of the, 6 feet from what we originally proposed to what we have now. We took 6 feet of length off of the proposed addition. We're adding a total of 11 feet in length to the existing house.
Okay. All right. I think, first of all, I think bringing the mass of the second structure down has helped it considerably. I share a little bit of John's concern. I do want to see an aerial scape of this house versus the neighbors to both sides so we understand any potential issues that are there. I think that's probably a wise thing to do. It'll also help us understand, for the amount of windows that are facing neighbors, what any issues could be.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for listening, and I think that setting the ridge height down and removing 6, perhaps more, would be better. But I mean, I think it's a big improvement. The garage, which is way back, is clearly a big improvement. And I think that the idea of looking at the amount of light pollution is not a bad thing on the south elevation, but I think that the windows on the east and west are not adding a great deal of light pollution.
Okay, Anthony, I really have nothing to add to what the board has already said, so your chance to rebut or otherwise shed some more light on what you're doing.
Sure. I think providing an aerial view showing the other properties, the site plan with the 2 neighboring properties, that's no problem. I can do that. What I would do is I would probably just scale off. I mean, if it sounds okay with you, and I find it to actually be quite accurate to just kind of scale off of the Google aerial view. There's really no way to lie with as far as that goes. I think the only I'm glad that you like reducing the ridge height and reducing the length. Thank you very much for that. That really gives us a good direction to go in here. As far as the light pollution, I think that's the only thing where I maybe have a little bit of an issue with the comments, and I understand that this may be somewhat dependent on finding out where these neighbors are, but I do want to just kind of point out a couple of things for you. These windows on the first floor, I mean, they exist. I mean, this is the existing first floor sunroom.
That's
we're
correct,
just
but
proposing to kind of
add an additional window, and as I said, it's about the projection into the yard that's changed. So you may have been facing, those windows may have been facing blank walls on either side of the neighbors. Now they could potentially be open into the yards of the neighbors. So I hear what you're saying. They do exist, but the position has changed dramatically.
Okay, I think maybe that's something that will be revealed in the next elevation, and certainly, if there does appear to be an issue with that, we'll address it at that point.
Thank you.
I think that the other thing that may be a bit confused about is the comments on the glazing on the rear elevation. Let me just see if I can get to that without inadvertently sitting here. Bear with me for a sec. Yeah, so this being the rear, or what we're calling the south elevation. First of all, once again, there's already a lot of glass on this back elevation. I mean, there's this back door, there's this sort of strange transom up here, there's a window here, there's the sunroom, this is glass doors. So, yeah, I mean, we're adding these doors on the second floor, but, which certainly could be a little bit narrower, wouldn't impact the plan, but, I would tend to argue that, first of all, there isn't that much net gain in glass on the south elevation.
It's
Secondly,
it's the second floor that concerns me, actually more than the first. The second floor is considerably more glass than the current house, so that's my only concern.
Okay, I mean, once again, if this is a concern about the size of the store and the amount of glass there, I think that's where we can probably work with you on that. Sure, happy to do that. Okay.
And in the next presentation, if you remove the windows on the garage that you said shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
fine.
up until 2 a.m. on Wednesday trying to get these revisions to you folks, so.
And then my only other comment, which is a comment I've been making, if you intend to have any kind of exterior light fixtures on this house, can they show up on the plan?
Yes, and in fact, I know that was a comment at the last one. I frankly didn't want to, I wanted to focus on getting the house, getting in the right direction as far as the house goes, and
Okay.
I'll certainly bring the light fixtures for the next meeting.
Great.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, any
Thank you.
public comment? Seth, anybody out there?
I have no hair.
Okay, then I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. Second on that, please. Second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. See you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Greg Young and Carol Cutler at 83 Lewis Street for one-story addition and alterations. Okay. Okay, see you. Tell us again.
This is Yu Liu. I'm the architect for 83 Louis Street. And last time we were in the meeting, and board expressed concern that I was moving windows around, and we're not doing that at all. Except there's one little window that's like a horizontal.
Okay, so let me understand this straight. So that which we were concerned about, the symmetry should not be prioritized over the present. I just want to make sure in which we felt that the symmetry was not to overtake the preservation of this structure. So you're telling us now that the windows will all remain the same with the exception of one that you're going to point out? Well, okay. For the sake of us, tell us.
It's a tiny little one
Okay.
that was.
Let's start with which elevation?
Which plan?
Oh, that's the
Thank
south elevation, and that tiny little window was added later on, so it was not original. I'm assuming the original windows are probably a double hung.
You can't hear Antoinette? I see head shaking. You're on mute. Oh, you can hear now, okay.
Okay, so,
Okay.
so that little window, I believe the homeowner said they replaced an old window with that. So that's why I'm thinking a original window most likely is a double hung. And so that's the only one that I'm proposing to change, and if the board says no, maybe I'll go back. But I really think it looks better because that little tiny one doesn't look as good. Do you want the photograph?
Okay. Yeah, put the photograph on the table. This way Sage can pick it up. Thanks to you.
See, Lou, there were survey forms done 20 years ago, and they're on file in the buildings department.
Yeah.
And you might look at those photographs and see
I can take a look, yes.
Okay.
And the house, and then the other thing is that we still would like to do that little pantry addition in the back. That's 2 foot 11 inches by whatever the width that's existing. That's, I think it's 3 foot 6. That's the only two requests.
And what,
And
Yeah, yeah,
And then the bump out of the kitchen.
yeah, I've got a favor to ask for everybody when they're giving their presentations. There is a glossary in this design guidelines. It was prepared 20 years ago. And when referring to something like a multi-sided projecting window, it's a bay window projection. And the idea of something being referred to as a bump out is, you know the terminology, and it basically, you can say that it's a bay window.
what bay window?
The bump, the,
The bump out's
yeah. On the north,
There's a
Is
tiny, tiny little addition right here. Is that you're gonna walk the property right here?
yeah, I walked it.
Oh, okay, it's not a bay window. It's a 2 foot 11 inches by 3 foot 6 inches space that is solid, no windows.
No windows, okay.
It's a solid. It's here. It's right here. It's a solid.
Okay.
It's not a bay window.
right, well, this is the old one I'm looking at. So it's on the north elevation.
It's
Yeah, Sarah's been.
television, television. Yeah, it's right here. So this is pushed out here, right? It's not visible from the street.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. If it's not visible from the
Yeah, it's
street,
not
that's
visible.
fine.
It hides
Right.
behind.
So the only thing that you're changing from the original structure is that bump out and
Projection.
and changing a very small
Projection.
landscape window into a more
It's more
traditional
double.
portrait window. And Sarah, your concern is whether that was original, or is that not?
No,
a
I'm not
concern?
concerned that it's not original. I would think that for design direction, you might look at the survey that was done 20 years ago by GAI that's in it was a survey done to update our historic resources. And each of these forms has an individual form done in a black and white photograph.
Okay.
So, and they're located in the bottom file drawer in the back of the buildings department. So that might give you some direction. If,
Okay.
So now,
But
that being said, is there a concern, this being on the south side, not from the street, if she were to change that to a more traditional vertical window?
I'm just saying that you might get a design confirmation.
Is that an
I don't-
issue architecturally?
I don't have an issue with
No.
Yeah, I don't have a
No.
concern.
Okay,
I mean, I think Sarah's point is, it's possible to actually know what was original because we
Yeah.
have the information, but
Right.
it's not a sticking point.
okay.
For
So
me.
it sounds to me, we're pretty good.
Mhm.
All right, let me ask if there's any public comment on the internet? No. No, I'm just going to add one thing, which we all said last week. I happened to be with a photographer today, and one of her things that makes her pictures so unique is they're sort of natural. And she said something that I thought was, she said, imperfection is the charm of life. So when we looked at this structure, there were imperfections, how they got there, why they got there, but it made it the house that it is. I'm glad you and the applicant, the owners, saw it that way as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
So, anyway, with that being said, I will move that we accept the application what's the date on that one? Mark? Oh, did you just give it to me, or?
No, hang on. I will give you submitted, that's it.
Oh, September 22nd, it was date stamped.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. For,
3 Lewis.
Greg Young and Carol Cutler, 83 Lewis Street. Do I have a second on that?
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you got that, Alice? Okay, thank you,
Sue.
see you.
Thank you.
Jeff, we can hear great now. That's what Emma.
Oh, okay.
Really good.
Good. I only wish my voice sounded maybe an octave deeper, but that's not going to happen. Okay. So now 39 Nugent Street for exterior alterations. Hello again.
Yes.
And yeah, laid out at a 45-degree angle. Tell us who you are and tell us what, if any, changes were made. And
All right, good evening. Ken Lundstedt, Gensler Architecture, representing the client, Ron Harris Stevens, for 39 Nugent Street. So we went back to the drawing board and completely rethought our approach to the project, given our comments from the last meeting. And we're presenting a new idea, a new concept. And the idea is now we're using the existing facade pretty much in its form. We're cleaning it up. We're replacing the windows and doors with new storefront with divided light. We're proposing to paint the brick white, just it could go either way, actually. So, but we thought that the white would be nice. And the building next door that's being redone is also being painted white. So this is kind of a mix of traditional and contemporary. And also just doing a little more landscaping, showing a little more of that, showing some new benches. And so it's pretty self-explanatory. It is what it is. So comments welcome.
Rather than the flat roof that was presented.
Sage, can you get that on the screen? I'm sorry. The picture?
Yeah.
That Ken laid out?
Rather than the flat roof that was presented last meeting, I'm actually relieved to see a pediment. It's not the best building in the world, but that at least provides some break in the front elevation, the north elevation. I was curious about the actual color of the window and door enframements. You've talked about aluminum framing with insulated glass, but I'm not sure that the enframements are those spelled out? Have I missed something? The color?
We're proposing black as opposed to aluminum. I think one elevation looks like it's aluminum, but the rendering is probably more accurate. So we're looking to do black.
My preference, if stated, would be aluminum of a charcoal or a dove gray, something not black. It gives even with divided lights, it rather gives the impression of eyes poked out. And I think that the existing brick is nothing to write home about. I'm not sure that maybe you can figure out something that's not really quite stark white, maybe something that is washed. I don't know, but
yeah, no, I think that would be appropriate. Something that even if it lets a little of the existing brick through, a little less, definitely not stark or glossy white. Definitely not.
Okay. Well, I think you've come a long way, but that's just me.
Mark?
Well, I think compared to sort of how it sat with the other house last time, I think it sits better on the land. It sits better in its location. I agree with Sarah if the doors could be not stark black.
Yeah.
Like a color that would be great. And I also agree if you just soften the white a little bit, it'll make a big difference.
Sure.
And then same question, are you planning any kind of exterior lighting?
We haven't thought about it actually, since we kind of redesigned this in the past couple of weeks, but I think it would be appropriate. We'll come back with some
It
ideas.
just
I
shows
don't-
what they look like, okay?
Maybe kind of maybe gooseneck type, metal.
Yeah, I think
be
interesting, like,
appropriate.
it might break up also this
Yeah,
wife
yeah.
facade. Okay.
I agree with Sarah and Mark. I think the painted brick is going to be a nice change for that building.
Mhm.
It's much simplified, and it still has some of the, enough design elements to make it more interesting than what it is currently. But I agree with the window colors. Aluminum or white, or even like a dove gray, I think is a much better solution. And actually driving through the village on the key commercial streets in the historic part of the village, I think there was only one building that I saw that even had like black frames in the building. So it keeps it more in keeping with the rest of the village. My only other comment is that the Brown Harris Stevens sign that's over the door, that would have to be approved in a separate request. So just,
Okay.
because it would, we have to know if it's illuminated and all the details behind
Okay.
that.
All right.
Okay.
I think your front yard landscaping plan is great. I think it's actually going to be a vast improvement in
Oh,
that section of the street.
definitely.
too.
Right.
Thank you.
So, and that will be part of the final submission as well. So I have nothing additive. And so let me ask if there's any public comment. Sage, anybody out there?
I have no hands.
Okay. So Ken, you've gotten some suggestions from the
Good.
board. Most notably, when you come back the next time, as we were talking about with CU as well, specific samples that one can be put in the files, and two, specified from the standpoint of the manufacturer, the serial number, and so on, that we can
That's-
take care
sure.
of that. Okay?
Sure.
And then the landscaping plan, that is part of the package, as we're assuming that's the case. So
Yeah, we didn't specify a material.
in the landscaping plan?
Yeah, I kind of suggested bluestone, but what do you feel? I mean, the sidewalk remains sidewalk.
The sidewalk,
Sidewalk
right.
is sidewalk.
Yeah.
But it could be a bluestone, it could be,
I mean, if you want people to be comfortable there, one thing I think is think about something that doesn't radiate as much heat as bluestone. In that area would be kind of nice for
Yeah.
people coming in and out of the
Yeah.
building.
And are the planting materials? And if so, they should be specified as well, Okay?
yeah, we'll do a final set of documents now that we know the
Gotcha.
direction is good. And we'll include the lighting, we'll include the
Yeah.
specification of materials, we'll detail the landscaping and the paving materials as well.
Okay.
So,
Great.
Great.
Thank
All right.
you.
So
Thank
thank you,
you.
Ken.
Thank you.
And I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn.
Did we have any public comment? No?
Oh.
No, I think we asked.
We asked, yeah.
We asked.
Sorry.
Anybody out there? Nope. Anybody out there? Okay, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. And by the way, Ken, that's going to be on October
12th.
12th.
Wednesday.
I have a
And
hand.
if we're not ready, we'll just adjourn
Yeah.
Yeah,
to the trip
that's fine.
for that.
I have a hand, Chairman, on
Yes,
Zoom.
I'm sorry?
I have a hand on Zoom.
Oh, you do?
Yep, they just popped
Oh,
up.
the next one?
For the
Okay.
next one? Okay.
Okay, great. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
thank you. Okay. So, let's proceed on. Hold on a second. Oh, wait, this is approved. Okay, 36 Windmill LLC, eponymously at or named for 36 Windmill Lane. Go ahead, Lisa. Tell us
Hi.
who you are again.
Lisa Zaloga, I'm the architect for 36 Windmill Lane, also known as Shippy. So we were here a couple weeks ago, and I don't want to speak for the board, but I think that there was generally favorable comments. And so my recollection of the things that we were kind of missing or that needed some more clarification were some information on the windows, which I submitted. I gave you some information from Green Mountain Windows and their historic remodeling. They do a lot of historic windows, explaining that it's a complete full-frame window. And I gave you the details of the windows, gave you the historic sills and nosing. All those details are now in the file. I also added to the elevations and gave you sizes of all of the windows on the elevations, as well as there is a window schedule which calls out those sizes. I also added a typical window detail of the French casements, the 7 that we're proposing down the side, as well as the 9/9s that, as we talked about on that old rendering that we're talking about going back to on the front facade, as well as the north side. So I think that covered those windows.
Okay, so, I don't know, who's ever managing the video, we see a lot of specs and stuff. Was there a rendering or a elevation you wanted to share with us?
You want to go to the front elevation?
Yeah, that's all that really changed.
Right. So that's the front rendering. And now what I submitted to you, we spoke the last time we were here. We had kind of a grid pattern in those big front windows, and I think we all agreed it was a little busy. And John really kind of wants to have the middle section open. So I submitted a couple of different choices. We went to just plain glass, which looked a little, sad, commercial, not really pub-like. So then I did submit another choice with kind of the middle open section and the littler windows. That was that's the one that we prefer. We also have a third choice, if you felt that was too busy, where we kept the same concept but got rid of more divisions in the kind of the wraparound area. So that was where we ended up in terms of those 2 front windows.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I guess I'm the boring one. I really like just the plate glass windows. I just think it's in keeping with the original building. And I know.
It's more commercial storefront than pub.
But it's
I have to say, when you simplify the windows to that drawing, you see the ones you uncovered, you did a great job
They really
of uncovering
shine.
those windows above it.
Mm-hmm.
They stand out to me now, and I think the others compete with them.
So go back to the middle one, the one that you prefer.
Yeah,
That I think is too busy. It's actually the other one, the more simple one that I kind of think we all kind of felt was nice in that it gave a little bit of detail, but it wasn't overpowering.
I just think that those windows above the awning are such a find. It's like that is
Just let them shine.
yeah.
I agree with you that I love those windows. I think that they are such a small scale that having a little bit of division in the big window kind of is more in keeping with the character than just a big plate glass. But again, we're looking to move forward. So
I feel like we're going to agree to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree there.
We're going to agree to disagree.
Yeah, I'll let Sarah speak and then I'll chime in. Any thoughts one way or the other?
No, and actually the one that has, some, I could go either for that one or the one that has some.
Yeah.
I think that the plate glass, first of all, if some moron throws a rock, then you've got a whole plate glass to
That's
to
true
fix,
too.
rather than
Or a beer
Which is the
bottle,
case for the
whatever.
entire village.
Okay, yeah.
And it's almost a matter of taste and more than it is judgment. I know we're supposed to only use judgment, and Alice is going to school me afterwards, or scold me at least anyway.
Gently.
Gently, thank you.
It's not historical, so that
No,
we don't have to base it on
No,
that.
I know. So I personally like the slightly pubby feeling of this and breaking up the clear plate, glass, which I think is a bit commercial, even though I know that's what's there now. I don't think it takes away.
That's actually not what's there now, is it?
No.
Well, it
Well,
was
no,
one
what's-
big
well, no,
single
well-
plate, piece of plate glass.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
what's
just
right, that's what he's
what I'm
saying.
saying, what's
That's
there
what he's
now
saying.
is a plate glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this adds a little bit more character to it without taking away from.
I would yes, I could go with that.
I didn't get that one?
I don't know.
I think what you're hearing is this may not be the hill to die on.
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
But where did you get with the lighting plan?
So I submitted a light fixture also. Did you see that?
West
This
Elm.
Yes, and so on the north elevation that you have, you can see in between those windows that we're adding, we were going to put this light fixture. It's a 60-watt milkshade light.
that's a lot of light.
You think it's too much?
There's one between each window?
Mhm.
I would do every other, maybe?
It's 60 watt.
It's 60 watts.
And it's milk. I mean, it's milk. It's not it's a milkshade glass.
No, but, okay.
And the front of the building?
The front of the building, the only thing that's going to light up is going to be the Shippey sign, and that'll be backlit. The letters will be backlit, but we will submit that
Okay,
when we come
and
for our
there's no
sign.
pictures by the door or anywhere else? Okay.
So the milkshade
This is
lanterns,
the lights up
Mhm.
do they shine down?
Did you see
You see that?
It's like a
Okay.
ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
So they're not shining per se anywhere.
Okay.
It's just a little
1970s ping pong ball.
yeah
Yeah.
Okay.
with a light in it.
Yeah.
I actually think adding a little bit more to that light to that street's not the worst thing
Yeah.
either, just because there's a lot of
Right,
traffic and
yeah.
people walk down it to get to the restaurants. I don't
And
think it's a bad
if it becomes obnoxious, I'm sure.
We can take
John,
them down to
you could-
40 or
Yeah.
You can put them on a dimmer.
we can put them on a dimmer. And again, the Rose Society, they do want to grow roses up the side of the building, so they'll eventually.
On the north
You could
elevation.
put grow bulbs in them.
All right, so then the only issues, then the front window, or the
Yeah,
only issue?
did we agree on the middle choice, the one with the?
That one.
Well,
Correct.
I'm with Sarah on that. I don't know about you two.
No, John said he was.
No,
good.
I said
He
I would
was
I would go with that.
I think we're at the point that
Yeah, okay.
it's not the hill to die on.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Because I think the rest of it looks so
Good.
great, that's not something to hold it up for.
All right, so which, is that the one that's in the file?
That, I can hand you up one of those
Well, which-
now, and I can bring you a gazillion of them tomorrow.
Well, I just want to make sure whatever I sign tomorrow.
Well,
Yes.
they'd have to be on the final plan.
Right.
I can make sure that you have whatever you need
Yeah, we're
tomorrow.
gonna need drawings that indicate it.
Okay. The,
That's, the one that's in the file has the more divisions
That's
than
been
that one.
okay,
But you can update that and just
I
replace
can
the
bring
one.
that
in
to
file.
you
Okay,
at
yeah.
8:30 tomorrow morning.
that'd be, okay, because then
Great.
I'll sign off on it. Okay, this is the approved. Today's,
And you want to put the lighting too.
yeah, okay. 9, you said 26. Okay. Okay. Can you figure out where the file is for that? Okay, so I think we're there now on the awning. John, I think you approved that,
Did we approve that already? Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
okay?
We approved that already.
Love
Okay.
it.
So I think
I think
there's,
we get to make a motion.
I think,
Was there
What type
public
of
comment
motion?
on this one?
what's that?
Public comment?
Thank you. Any public comments, either out here or in the ether? No?
I have no hands.
No hands, okay. So then, I will move that we accept the application and drawings as submitted this evening, along with the picture approved this evening of the window fenestration. So would I have a second on
Stamped
that?
September 22nd.
Second.
Okay, stamped September 22nd. Second on that,
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And don't forget about the sign.
Okay,
The sign. You got it.
okay,
You got it. Thank you so much.
okay, thank you,
Joe.
Lisa. Okay, thank you. Okay, next application, Lawrence Cirillo. at 94 Corrigan Street. All right. Thank you, Peter.
I love those.
And,
I know, I love the little model in the box.
good night, folks.
Peter Albinski should be dialing in, he's my architect.
Okay.
We have Peter Obinski's hand up.
Okay.
Is it part of the application? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you use a 3D printer to create these, or do you do it like piece by piece?
I had nothing to do with that. Peter
Oh.
does it.
Wow.
And actually, it helped us set
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
I'm going to turn it over to Peter, Mr. Chairman, but
Okay.
Larry Cirillo, I'm the applicant, 94 Corrigan Street.
Okay.
We were before the board 2 weeks ago. I think generally the house was well received, although we had some critical comment on aspects of the house. John, I think you had mentioned the back roof terrace. We took that out. You'll see that on the
Yeah.
plans.
And on the house.
Yes, and you lost the railings.
We changed the railing. We took the railing off the front. We revised the railing in the back so it's simpler. The rooftop deck doors are now windows. And then the other, and I'll leave it for Peter to explain the changes to the pediment,
Okay,
which I think Mark addresses your massing issue.
okay, thank you.
So I'm going to turn this around. Maybe it's easier if we just put the plans showing the front elevation. And he can walk you through what we did there.
Okay.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Again.
introduce yourself, please.
Okay, Peter Albinski, architect for the project. Address is 108 Forest Avenue, Locust Valley, New York. We've made a number of changes we're happy with. I think we addressed the concerns. I think one of the overall concerns was the formality, which I've done a couple of things with. On the front elevation, we simplified it by eliminating the railing there, which I think takes away that detail. There was a Chippendale railing on there. The original pediment was just a plain pediment. It was flush and it would have been white. I've changed that to add a copper skirt roof, and that would be a concave copper skirt roof that actually matches the roofs, the copper roofs that are over the box bay windows. So I think that horizontal line and the change of material in the pediment, we did add a smaller oval window in the pediment. But I think that the horizontal nature, taking out the railing, sort of simplifies it, less formal, what the board was looking for. Other railings around, we take like the other railing that was around the well on the side. Again, just a very simple railing. And then we repeated the same skirt roof as is in the front, in the rear. The other comment you had was about the roof deck off of the master bedroom. So we've taken out the doors from there and just put windows to that. We still left the railing, we like the railing as a detail in the back of the house facing from the pool area when we go back on the house. That's the basics of what we changed from last time, so open to any questions or comments.
You want to start, and then we'll go to John, and then Sarah.
Well, I'm going to start with thank you. Thank you for listening. I think the change in the pediment to me makes a big difference. I think there's also materials tie-in between the pediment and the other parts of the house, and I think the smaller window looks more purposeful. I appreciate that, and those had been my concerns. My only question is there any exterior lighting going on the house that needs to go on the plan?
Let me jump in here. So I think we have a coach lantern on the, what we call the mudroom door.
Okay.
Around there, it's shown there.
Okay.
That's the only wall-mounted light we'll have over the front door. The covered porch will probably have a hi-hat or something that's
Ceiling fixture.
a ceiling fixture shining down. And in the back, because we have the covered porch on one side on a trellis, on the other, we'll probably downlighting on that as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Those are my questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
John?
Thank you for the revised plan. I think it's fine. I like it.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, it's not quite as formal, and thank you for listening.
Okay. Any public comment? Okay.
I would just
So-
like to say thank you, because I think this iteration will sit very nicely on that street in that neighborhood.
It's still
I love the design.
very
I think
stately.
The comments were all very good. I knew that Chippendale railing wasn't right.
Aye.
I knew the Chippendale railing wasn't right, but as I mentioned in the last meeting, I'm emotionally tied to it. So
All right,
my next house.
All right, we're not going to go into why that might be, Lawrence, but we'll accept it
More than we
as
need
it
to know.
is, exactly. With all of that being said, I move that we accept the application of Lawrence Cirillo.
Public comment?
Yeah, I think I asked.
He asked.
I asked, okay.
Sorry.
At 94 Corrigan Street to construct a two-story, single-family dwelling. That's okay, I always need to be checked on. And the plans were dated, was also September 22nd?
September 21.
September 21st. Okay, second on that. Sarah, you want a second this time? There you go, Sarah seconds, and gentlemen.
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor? Aye. Okay,
Aye.
great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Josh and Caroline Brennan, or Brennan. Was
Good
that-
evening, Kieran Pate Murphy, an
I'm sorry, I
attorney.
didn't catch your first name.
Kieran
Okay, Kieran.
Pate Murphy,
Yes,
and
okay.
I'm an attorney. And I was I'm at One Bayberry Lane, Sag Harbor, New York. I'm here hopefully on Zoom with the architect, Chris Profeta. And last time we were here, there was a question about, this is a dormer that we had received a variance for, so we're dealing with 132 square feet. And I think the really only issue was the spacing of the windows. In talking with my client, she wants to have, they both want to have 4 windows. It's drawing A16, do you have that, Chris? The drawing of the preferred.
Which of the 3 options is the one we're looking at?
B.
B.
Option B.
Sorry, we have lots of options.
There were 3 options.
Share my screen.
You could share
Yeah,
the
that-
screen,
that
I
would be
just
good.
have.
Please.
There's so much paperwork here.
1 second.
Thank you. And Chris,
And-
did you introduce yourself?
Oh, yes, I'm Chris Profeta. I'm the architect for the project, located at 48 Shinnecock Avenue, East Quogue.
Okay.
I believe it's this one.
Right. So generally, Kieran,
Yes.
we don't like to do options. So present to us.
We wanted, this is the
that-
option
Okay.
that he's showing right. Is that?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, that is the option
Okay.
that my client wants. On the far right there, that window exists, and the other 3 will be added. That window is a bathroom window. And Chris can maybe explain a little bit why we have the spacing of the windows. And also like to point out that we had shown a Google aerial photograph last time, and this house is set further back from the neighbor, and there's extensive landscaping. You can't see this from the street, and there's arborvitaes or some other kind of Christmas tree. They go up 2 stories up. And so anyhow, so that's why, and they, just to have light, because this was kind of, it's added on. It was an open area, I think, below. Anyhow, I'll let Chris explain in the correct architectural terms.
Right, so the previous iteration, the way I was approaching it, and I understand it was really, didn't have much symmetry in it. It was thinking in terms of the interior of the bedroom and being able to put furniture there and move furniture around, for whoever was gonna live there. In this scheme, trying to make some, not really symmetry, but trying to make some sense out of the elevation, which is a bit chaotic. The Brannons wanted a double window, which I had centered on this space here, so we're playing a little bit of a solid void type of scheme here. This window here is the existing window and cannot move. So what I had done when this had lays out in this solid, area here, we have another solid void with this below it, and I matched the spaces in between. So trying to create at least some symmetry with what we can work with. So that was the basic scheme behind it. By code, they have to have a minimum of 2 windows in here just for the requirements of the code. That was the basic approach for it. The windows will be the same as what's there. They're going to be the same color as what's there. It will be the same roofing. It will be the same fascia, the same siding. So it's just an extension from this point over that is potentially going to be added. And that's about it in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions? And if you want to see the Google Earth view, this is
Okay.
here.
I think I'm the one that brought. I think I'm the one that brought it up last time. Here's what I think. I think this looks purposeful, and the last iteration we had looked accidental. So I
Yes.
think with I think taking the void into consideration and the rhythm of the windows now on the dormer versus the rhythm windows on the first floor, I think makes sense now. So I think it's fine.
Yep, I agree.
I agree. I wish you could work on
What?
nothing.
On other projects?
Okay.
So, yeah, from my perspective, it makes a huge difference, and I think it looks purposeful. I think it's great.
Okay, thank you.
I agree.
Okay, any public comment?
I was just about to say that.
Okay, good. Sage?
I have no hands.
Okay, so then I believe a motion is in order to accept the application and approve, I should say, approve the application of Josh and Caroline Brannon at 122 Cooper's Farm Road with plans, date stamped. Thank you, Mark. Okay,
This one says optional, September 19th.
September 19th, 2022. Second on that, please.
Second.
Well,
Second.
hang on.
What?
Do we have to actually, because they've sent us 3 sets of plans, we have to say which
Oh,
set
yeah.
of plans?
Okay.
Yeah.
Plan B.
Are your pages numbered differently? Is this page in your plans numbered differently than the others?
I have to go back and look. I think
So-
this one here was with the original set.
Okay.
The 2 others were added on as 15 and 16.
Okay,
So this should be 9 and 11, which would be the floor plan,
okay.
and this elevation. So this should be the original.
And for tonight's purposes, you called this option B?
Option B, yes.
Okay, so I think we actually have to say with
Say-
option B, because they
Yes.
gave us
Option
3 to
B,
consider.
Yep,
Yes.
with option B as submitted. Okay,
I second
seconded,
it.
okay, there you go, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great,
You're welcome.
thanks. Now, when you, Karen, just to make sure,
Yeah,
in the file, we have the 3,
yes.
A, B, C? Okay, all right,
Yes.
and if not, we'll double check. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
B, approved B.
Okay. Whip into it.
Okay, approved option B. Okay, great. Okay, so now, new matters. Tamara Carmichael and Todd Grossman at 93 David White's Lane to amend a prior ARB determination. And do we have affidavits on that?
No.
We
No,
don't,
we
and we don't
don't.
have materials either.
And we didn't have the materials.
So
I think this is being re-advertised.
okay, so I don't know, is anybody here for that application, either here physically or on the internet?
Or spiritually. Or
Yeah, spiritually.
On the interweb.
Yeah. Sage, anybody? Okay,
I don't have any hands.
so how should I
Didn't-
mark that as is it a no-show or is it,
It was never noticed, right?
Yeah, right.
It was never noticed.
So then it's just,
So we just move
just
on.
ignore it and move on, right?
Yeah, they'll be on the next agenda.
Okay, so not noticed. It wasn't noticed, because, never mind. All right, yeah, thank you. Nathan and Jennifer Ondiak at 46 John Street, partial demo.
I didn't have any of this information in my file. Did anybody else?
No?
I don't believe I do. Was it noticed?
I have affidavits on this one. This one's good.
You do?
Yeah.
And somebody must have known, this is signed on the house.
But I
And-
haven't reviewed any
Yeah.
drawings.
We got
Okay.
some objection letters.
Yeah, I did see the letter. There was an
Yeah, we got
objection letter,
objections, but I don't have
but that was it.
materials.
We have,
Is this your application?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
but we haven't looked at the
There was
drawings.
nothing in the files?
I didn't have anything, and
I have
Mark didn't
nothing.
have anything.
I sent a note out on Friday that I had no materials.
I filed everything.
Well, this is a little difficult.
Well,
Um,
I think we should let her present them.
Yeah, and
we know that
we
she
will
submitted
we
them.
will make a decision. So what
Okay,
I'd like you to
that's
do is to take us through it rather quickly. And I don't even know if we should hold any discussion. What I will share with you ahead of time is that there was some concern among the public, but I guess we can voice that as well. So let's try to go through it quickly.
And just not vote.
Right, exactly. All right, so introduce yourself.
Ciolio Architect for 46 John Street.
All right, right, for Nathan and Jennifer Ondiak.
Yes. I do have new site because my site plans that I filed, I didn't mention.
You're gonna have
You
to
have to
talk in
speak
the
into the
mic.
microphone.
I said I do have new site plans, I can.
New
hand
site
them.
plans.
Yeah,
So,
so because I
why
didn't
did you?
mention them correctly.
Okay, let's approach it sort of in general.
Okay.
Because since we don't have all the information we
I can
need,
put
I
it
don't want to go
tomorrow,
into
yeah.
details on things we haven't even seen.
Okay, all right, so. I'm gonna just put site plans.
Yeah.
Right there.
Great.
Okay. All right, then go back to the podium, speak into the microphone.
Lots of
Okay.
exercise
Yeah.
today.
Well, I'm gonna rearrange this next week.
So, this, you know what, this is my copy. So I have pictures, you want? I have.
Wait,
No.
you-
Lay them down, they'll put them on the
Yeah.
screen so we can all see them together.
So this house has a very big round porch in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're proposing to take it down and do a small portico. I think it's 4 foot by 7 foot 10 inches. So basically 4 by 8, a small portico in the front, and get rid of that big round porch, and then add a little screened-in porch on the side, which is on the corner here. So big round porch become a small portico. And a small screened-in porch on the side, and that's what we are asking for. And the colors and style will be matching the existing cedar shingles, and the roof matches the existing.
Are you having to reposition the driveway to do this?
The driveway is still the same place, it's just have
Parking. Is there a parking pad now across the front lawn?
No, because the big round porch is
Yeah,
there.
okay, I can't see it, okay.
Oh, but you can see on the photo, right?
Yeah, that's existing, I'm looking at the,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's right here, is a big flat round porch. Maybe I just give you this, it's easy. That makes sense.
Right. So I think we're familiar.
I know the house, yeah.
So is, the round porch comes out about how many feet? What's the radius? So from the front of the house, it extends,
I don't have the exact dimension. I
okay.
think
Well,
it's
let
10
me put it
feet.
another way, because again, we're not going to make a decision this evening, but I'm just trying to get a sense. Is the squared, now you're going to remove that, you're going to replace it
With a
with
4x8 portico.
4x, so.
4x710.
So
Four
it's,
by-
it's
picture's
it's
kind of-
further, it's
the
further
picture-
set
Well, the
back?
picture's immaterial, what does the portico look like? I don't think we're being, the unfortunate thing for you is I don't think we're being fair to you, because we haven't had a chance to
Yeah.
look at anything, and we're looking at
I don't know what's
pictures
being
of
proposed.
existing, and when it's not, it's impossible for me to tell what's being proposed, and I'm sorry. But we weren't presented any materials to review for this meeting, and they're sort of backwards and facing the camera and kind of hard to read.
I'm sorry.
So I don't think, so
I-
I feel like
I-
we're not being fair to you, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, well, it's okay. But we do have 3 supporting letters too.
And one very negative.
There's always somebody.
But before we go to even all that, I think it behooves us all
Yeah.
to get this,
I
look at
agree,
it, and come
yeah.
back fairly to this applicant. I just don't think we're being fair.
There's a,
'Cause we're looking at something upside down to comment, and you can't even
Yeah,
tell
I
what
was
we're
going to ask you,
looking at.
what's the historic
The-
aspect of this house?
In 20 years ago, this was part of the Index of Historic Resources, and at that point, it was a Hiscock house, and it was before 1916, and I know it was altered, but I don't know the extent to which, and I think that, once again, this black and white photograph that in the file cabinet at the bottom in the back of the buildings department will give you more information of what it looked like 20 years ago.
Now, I'm wondering too, also for expediency, if we should have Sally take a look at the house, or not at this point.
I
I
get
don't-
the feeling this house has been altered multiple times.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I
it
think
looks like it
anything what
has.
it looked like in 1910 or 15, or what
Is-
it looks
is
like now
gone.
is disappeared.
But it would be good to see what it looked
Yeah.
like, at least in the photographic
Yeah.
evidence when it was considered
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Is there,
And to see if what it looked like then informs what it will look like in
I
the
guess one of the
future.
things is that semicircular porch is very
Yeah, that's-
Distinctive.
idiosyncratic. And was that original, or was that added on?
I think by looking
And is
at
that
the
a good thing
survey
or a bad
form, which
thing?
said it was contributing, would give us some, an idea.
Okay, so if you can make sure that the file is complete according to everything that's listed in the green form, which you're all familiar with, and if you can do some of the research that Sarah suggested, and if that were to be put in the file, then we'd have a better ability to judge.
You'll see that it's on here, and Alex knows where these forms are, so he can show you in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just wondering where are the files I filed now.
I apologize, we don't know
Yeah.
the answer to that, because if we knew the answer to that, we'd have them.
Yeah.
Exactly, we'd have them for tonight.
Right. So while there may be public comment, and there has been public comment submitted, which we will read into the file when we actually fully hear the application, I think it would be
Just hold
not
hold
effective or
everything, yeah.
efficient. So we're going
I
to
don't think it-
essentially
we wouldn't be-
table this discussion.
We would not be being fair to the applicant to react to the public letters when we
Yeah.
haven't seen what they're commenting on. That's
Exactly.
not fair to the
Okay.
applicant.
So
It's unfortunate, but-
this is going to be the board's request to adjourn to the next meeting.
Is there public comments so we can hear that?
We're not gonna take public
It
comments?
doesn't behoove us now because we can't comment on it. And while the public comments are informative, they're not decisive. That takes place here at the board.
I think you should hear from the public.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's been noticed, and
Okay,
people might be here, they may not be able to come another time. I
all
think
right,
you should.
that's fair, we're fine with that. I just wanted to be fair to everybody. So let's do this. If there's any member of the public here, please tell us, and you can come up to the podium. If there's somebody on the video, out in the ether, raise your hand.
I have no hands.
Okay.
So should the
all
letters
right.
be written in or read to the record now, or
No, they're in the record.
they're in the record, doesn't
Yeah.
matter, okay.
But, and we'll reprise them.
I mean,
So
doesn't-
this is, the board is requesting because we don't have the materials to answer your question, so that's, it's a different procedure.
Could I have that very negative letter, a copy?
It's in the file.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. I mean, I have an
There's
extra copy.
two. There's two. There's 2 against and 3 in favor.
Okay. All righty. So, so at the board's request, I move that we adjourn to our next meeting to allow the applicant, one, to submit some more information, and 2, for the building department to make sure that we get all that we need.
Second.
Okay, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, you.
Thanks,
I
Elu.
appreciate it.
So you want to give me your email address and I can send them to you?
My hip is killing me.
Long night.
Right.
It's hell to get all that.
All right.
You're saying that to me. I just want you to remember, you're saying that to me.
All right, next, 210 Hampton Road. At 210, well, Hampton Road LLC at 210 Hampton Road. Now, do we have affidavits for this?
I don't know.
I don't know, do you have affidavits to turn in? This would be affidavits of mailing and posting.
Yes, so
Okay, first introduce yourself, well, first let's show them to Alice, because if you do, then we're good to go. If not, then we don't have jurisdiction.
this is the receipts and the.
Wow,
notice of
that's
posting.
intense. I don't need all that. I'll just take the affidavit. Thank you.
All right, great. So with that in hand, now you can introduce yourself and we'll proceed, okay?
Hi, my name is Seth Carter, and I'm the managing member for 210 Hampton Road LLC. And I apologize, the only printout I have is one with my notes, because our engineering consultant told me that you guys would have everything, and I didn't need to print anything out. But I'm happy to place these out on the table, even though it's got my handwriting on it.
Here, you can use this one if you want. Yeah. I can look at Mark.
Appreciate it.
What's in the file?
Okay, Seth, take us through the elevations and what you're gonna be doing.
Sure, so we're looking to just refresh the exterior painting. We also want to create some MDF panels to cover the brick on the lower part, to give a little bit more of an elegant look. And then the last part, well, excuse me, and then we also want to make changes to the sign. So, and we got the original feedback. So the one we submitted, we've actually made changes to. So, you know, we heard you guys and we changed the colors. We actually really liked it. So,
Yeah, I got this on request.
Okay.
Today, but that's a separate issue. This is just for the building itself. The sign is addressed separately, just so you know. And
Okay.
But we can keep going. We can talk about that after
Gotcha.
you're finished.
And then the last part, and this may be a separate issue as well, is, you know, on the exterior with the planters, we want to use the existing planters that are on the front, but also create some on the side to where we're calling it the safety zone. And part of it is aesthetic, but a lot of it is there's really no separation between where people can gather in the front and like where the driveways are. Same with the side path to the bar, side door. You know, we want to create kind of a defined path that has barriers, which looks nice, but also is this kind of a safety as well. And so, you know, and defining that with the planters and, you know, keeping that kind of traditional with like boxwoods and hydrangeas, you know, nothing, you know, to sum it all up, we wanted to do kind of a simple, but, you know, a cohesive look for the building. So it's not just like an old home with a diner that was built on the front. You know, we want to create this cohesive and, you know, even with the darker paints, we think with the natural light coming through the windows and the interior is painted white. So we think it's really going to make it pop from the inside and not creating a bright, you know, exterior paint And it's not going to be like a complete black. You know, the paint is Benjamin Moore, it's called Black Beauty, but it's not a saturated black. It kind of comes off as almost like a dark gray. So we think it'll really highlight the interior and the plantings as well.
Paint color or?
Yeah, it's on the, or like a sample of the paint itself. I don't.
A swatch, I mean, normally Benjamin Moore.
Swatch. You know, I have the color and the number and all that, but I don't have a swatch.
Pass me the paperwork that you're working from.
It's the same
For a
thing
minute.
you have.
But this is literally unreadable.
Yeah, we got copies that are, you can't read it all.
That's my copy he has, so it would be the same.
Okay. This is,
Yeah.
and this was in the file.
Oh, I see, yeah, right.
Yeah,
You
the-
literally,
I mean-
you literally can't
I
read
thought
it.
you were saying you couldn't
No,
read this,
no.
I was saying, my
From what they
goodness.
No,
said.
the
Yeah, no, I
elevations,
know.
the elevations are so blurry that they're really unusable.
Yeah.
And we need more specific rather than bright brass light fixtures. I mean, we need the actual, what they look like,
And wattage.
and the wattage.
Finish.
And the plantings to feel like should be actually spelled out. That's part of
Okay.
your landscape plan. And the panel, it says panel system, but it doesn't specify what the material is.
It's going to be an MDF material, but
Yeah, if you can bring in a sample of that.
I mean, all of that is part of the, basically the legal document that we'll be signing off on and voting on.
Yeah, and this is a prominent structure, and at least a visible structure. So, and I have no doubt that you're going to do a great job, but we need to
Just to have the details for
see
the
that
record.
and confirm
I mean,
that as well.
Seriously, I'm not trying to give you a hard time. You literally can't read a single word that's on here.
right.
So who's ever going to give us materials, they need to be readable.
Just like full size.
And
full
bigger,
size,
please.
full-size plans.
Images.
And they need to have cardinal marks on them, cardinal points on them, and we need professional plans. And where your paint is concerned, we actually need the manufacturer name and color and a sample. And for your lighting fixtures, if you could bring a cut sheet of what they look like, the wattage and where they're going, just because this is visible, we have to have all that information before we could actually sign off.
Okay, so even to sign off on like exterior paint, you need the lighting as well.
I
Yeah.
need it, we need everything.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's part of the document.
Okay.
And while you're here on the sign, the changes you made looked like they're what was requested, but it's in the same vein, we need the details of the substrate, the size, the colors and so forth, so,
Font, everything.
yeah.
I feel like somewhere there's a full-size plan that somebody reduced to 2 inches by 3 inches.
Yeah.
So, I mean, seriously, have them, we can't do our job unless people give us materials we can read.
No, I understand. And then, and we did bring our sign company as well, because I know they have, you know, the separate application, but it sounds like
Right,
that's a,
it's all part of the package, right?
okay. But he does have all this.
Can we review the sign portion now?
Actually, we can, sure, why not?
I mean, you have that, right? You should have all.
Well, the sign that was sent to me today, the color and the size looked fine, but I sent a response back to Derek saying, looks okay, but we don't have the finish, the substrate, all the details required for us to prove anything, so.
So,
Well, why don't you come to the podium, introduce yourself,
Sorry, hi.
and then, you know, in all
Hi.
likelihood, since you have to come back for this other thing, I think we'll do it all as a package, but unless you have enough detail, because this is the sign committee.
Yeah. Make it
Okay.
more- I mean, if you just want to send that to
You're on the
me,
sign
I
committee
can
too, right?
probably,
Okay.
approve it, to just send it to me, or send it to Derek,
Okay.
and ask him to send it to me, the details that you have with you. Because
Okay.
that's exactly what I asked him for this afternoon.
Okay. Would you like to see the sample while I have it, though?
Sure.
Because I don't know that I can send
Well,
this
we
to
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
It's-
definitely.
We
yeah.
can all
Okay.
look at.
So my name's Anthony Droz. I work at Hampton Signs. I'm presenting the sign for 210 Hampton Road LLC. So what I have is they're switching it to just a black sign. It's 3/4 inch MDO. It's going to be hung from stainless steel brackets. It's going in an existing fixture that's already had a sign, so there's really no changes other than the board. And the finish that they're looking for is a aluminum letter with anodized gold, which is this. I'd like
Yeah,
to show you.
it looked very elegant. I thought,
Because before it was a gold vinyl and.
So that's the
and we
lettering.
said,
and then it'll be on what type of substrate then, or the sign itself?
Thank
The
you.
board will be on 3/4 inch, the board will be made of 3/4 inch MDO, okay? The letters are gonna be 1/4 inch aluminum letters, like this, but with that finish, so I'm gonna
Okay.
give you this as well.
Got it. So as long as the board itself has a flat finish, I think we're fine.
Not glossy.
Not glossy.
You prefer matte, okay. Okay, so then we can do a matte finish with those will be the anodized gold,
that's
which is
right.
shiny though.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. And they're flush stud mounted, so they're right up against the board.
I think it's fine.
Okay, so we'll have to come back still then, is what you're saying?
No, not come back. All I need is the details to be sent to me in the email from Derek, and I can approve it on the spot.
Great.
So you don't need to come back for that.
Oh, awesome.
could I ask about the neon that's there that says bar? Is that going away or?
No, we still plan to keep that there as is.
Good.
Good.
Yeah, because no, we love that sign.
Yeah,
love
good.
that sign. I
Yeah, I
love
did,
that sign.
I
Yeah.
did too.
It's the
I'm
most
just
important
ma-
part of our restaurant, so.
Like,
it's
you know, most of what the character that's there, we're trying to, keep that there. There's just, in terms of the paint and the inside, it's going to be a French bistro, so we're trying to capture that essence as well. But, we want it to be classy and elegant and simple, not too flashy, but we also want the community to make sure that they enjoy it as well, because, we want their local support. So.
And just while we're here, the awnings that are going across the front, those are retractable awnings?
We don't know yet. It's been talked, but I think we're going to stick with just the fixed awnings because it
Okay.
came down to, if we had outdoor seating.
Yep.
So we thought about having retractables so they could cover, but we've also found that, there's not an outdoor seating plan from the previous ownership. So
Yeah, that's true.
that will I think, for season one, probably go with something more simple, but I'll make sure we get, because I know the previous awning plan for more of a basic structure was approved by East End Awning.
Yeah, we did that a while ago. I think.
Yeah. And then there was talk to, well, if we're able to get outdoor seating here and things like that, will we want a retractable? But I haven't heard more talk on that.
Okay.
So as far as I know, we're still just using
We have what's
the
approved.
approved awning plan.
Which is there which doesn't have sides,
Did we approve the color?
No, there is not a sign on the current one.
good.
Yeah, we did.
Can we see a color material on those
It
awnings?
was black,
It was black.
Yeah, it's just a black awning, yeah.
which I thought was hot, but hey, that's me.
But the awning is very kind of short and.
Yeah.
and
It's more decorative than anything,
Exactly,
yeah.
so,
It's been approved.
right.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the sign's approved, but so any public comment?
Thank you.
Anybody out there?
So we're waiting for
Okay.
more information.
All right, so I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to our next meeting. And this is regarding the structure. The sign is a separate issue. I don't
Separate
think we
issue.
have to even mention
No,
it
no,
here.
I-
Okay. Second on the adjournment?
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
And that's October 12th, correct?
Correct.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Which is a
Okay.
Wednesday, I believe.
It
It's
is.
a Wednesday.
Then Karen and Spencer Small or Smool at 167 Flying
Thank you.
Point.
Sure.
Now, on this one, do we have affidavits of posting and mailing?
No, so, hi, good evening. My name is Marcus Kaufman, Phil Kaufman Builder for Karen Spencer Small and Builder.
Yeah.
Derek actually emailed me 4 o'clock today, asking me for the affidavits.
Yes.
There's no
Yes.
posting, there's no physical sign.
Correct. It was news to me today, too.
Yeah,
That
okay.
should have been done.
I'm sorry to
So
make
I
you
think
stick
this may be a
around.
little, short and sweet. However, I would just like to address a couple things with the board.
Well, we actually
We can't-
have
we
no
actually
We have no
jurisdiction.
jurisdiction.
We can't take jurisdiction because it hasn't been posted.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have made you stay
Yeah,
around, but-
okay. I feel like I've been lost in the shuffle here with the leaving of Jackie Allen. I started this process in the middle of July.
I know, and
And-
I appreciate that, but somebody should have known or should have been told. And
So, did you pick up an application to appear before us?
Have I ever appeared before you?
No.
Did you fill out an application? to
Oh, yeah.
appear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
You
did
guys-
you read the front of it?
I did.
yeah.
Is postings part of the application, the information how to apply, isn't it?
I don't believe on the first sheet on the cover letter. It's just the necessary information that's needed
Something to.
to apply.
So,
Okay.
Sorry that happened. Unfortunately, we just can't jurisdictionally hear from you tonight.
Okay, so what is
Just
my
from a-
next option on the? Can I
Well,
come back on the 12th?
On the 12th.
Yeah.
well, have.
Assuming
have-
everything's posted and affidavits
That's the
signed
thing,
and
that's the
and
key,
so on and
yeah.
so forth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the advertisement was done, so it would be good to do your posting and mailing for the 12th.
I'm sorry, the advertisement meeting.
We do an advertisement and then you do a posting and mailing.
Okay, so that official notice, I'm assuming is what you're
In the
referring to?
paper.
Yeah.
Okay, that official notice was sent to, assumingly the applicant, Spencer Smool, or me? Because I made the application originally.
No, it was noticed in the paper.
To
Okay,
the general public.
Okay, so, or are we, and I'm confused, I'm sorry, forgive
No,
me.
no, no,
Does
it's-
that mean they would put official notice out in front of the property?
yeah.
So
No,
you
you
are
have to go
required to do a mailing
Okay.
and you are required to post the property, put up a sign on the property.
That-
So you need to get those details from the building department of who you need to mail to.
And they'll give you a
And they
physical
can give you a
sign.
sign
You
Okay.
for you
pick
to
up the sign
post.
and then you post it on the property.
Okay. And they'll be the ones to tell me who to mail
Yeah,
out to?
they give you a list of the neighbors that are required to
It's
be
just the
noticed.
adjacent or adjoining neighbors?
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming.
200 feet from the property.
And those are required by certified mail now, or registered mail, or just mail? Just mail.
Just mail.
And again,
Don't get me
our
started.
what's your first name again? I'm sorry.
Marcus Kaufman.
Marcus, sorry. but,
I'm sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
That,
it's
yes,
a- it's a bummer.
as soon as I saw the last guy come up and said no affidavits, I said, oh, man.
We've taken 2.5 hours of your life.
Yeah, can I verify that you guys at least have the file?
We
have
That-
the file.
that you're here and you
Yeah.
have reviewed it and,
It's right here.
Yeah, but
Okay.
when we went to look at the
Went in the
property on
driveway and
Friday.
everything.
yeah.
That's what, I knew you didn't have signs out because we went in the driveway. I was like, there are no signs.
Okay.
We went to
Um,
look and it wasn't there.
Got it, got it.
And we can't even comment, Marcus. So.
Understood.
Just from a legal
All right,
standpoint.
as
you
much
know.
as we'd like to. So we're going to have to move on.
Okay, all right, I'll see you on the 12th, hopefully. Can I just ask you the process
We
thereafter
look
that?
forward. And the good news is you'll move up a little bit on the schedule because you're a
You're
comeback.
now returning instead of a new
Okay.
application.
So,
Technically,
all
right.
right.
At that time, will it be adjourned for another meeting, or will it be, could
I
there
don't know
be
what you
potential
said.
of
We
a?
That
can't
will totally
predict the
depend on your
future.
presentation.
I'm sorry,
We can't predict the future.
Nice try.
but you have reviewed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, yeah.
Okay. Consider it a simple request?
So,
Thank
all
you.
right,
I'm sorry you had to stay so long.
Thank you, Marcus. Okay, so driveway gates, Belinda Reingold
You learned so much, though, didn't you,
Uh,
sitting in and listening to all this?
at 48 Harvest Lane for driveway gates.
This is one.
Is there an applicant here for that?
I don't have affidavits.
You don't have affidavits on that either,
So we can't hear
I,
you.
Okay.
I did announce this.
Yeah, you did.
Right, okay, so no affidavits for that. Okay, so now we have, let me just put some files away. So now we have 2 landmark designation reviews. And so, let's see. I know so let's talk a little bit, because I know at least one applicant is here. I don't know if the applicant for, and actually, we're the applicant in this.
We're
this-
the applicant.
Yeah.
The case, but we do want to be respectful of the property owners. And the property owner at 43 Hill Street said he would not be able to be in attendance unless, obviously he's not here, unless there's somebody sage out in the internet on that property.
I have no hands. I have a mark.
Now, we
and-
could discuss that, or we could wait to the next meeting. I know you said we could have it, but not necessarily give him the courtesy of making a
Yeah, given that
comment.
it's a holiday, I
Right,
think
yes.
that we
Oh,
should give him
right.
an opportunity to appear at
Absolutely.
the
Right.
next meeting.
So
I
then
think
the question is it effective for us to discuss it at all this evening?
My opinion
that's
is
up
we
to
should-
the board.
My feeling is you should discuss, you should discuss it in front of the home, in front of the property owner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right,
think
we
we
will
should,
do
I
that.
think, because it is a holiday, I think we should just pick it up and move it to the 12th.
Okay.
Right.
Because I think that feels like the fair thing to do.
Okay.
Okay. Unless there's public comment out there, because it was noticed. And so if there are any, Sage or Antoinette, can you see if there's anybody in the public that wants to comment on this?
I can see it, unless there's only 2 people in the list right now and they're not raising their hands.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, then in that case, it wouldn't be any disservice to the public if we move this on. Okay.
Perfect.
Is that, you're good with that, Alice? Do you have to make a
Yes.
motion for that?
Let's make a motion, please.
Okay. I move that we adjourn to our next meeting, the landmark designation review of 43 Hill Street, AKA the Southampton Theater. Second on that?
Second.
John, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we're going to consider the property at 209 Windmill Lane, AKA the Bethel Church. And I know there are some concerned folks here. So, and I did have a conversation with Bonnie about what's involved in the process. So let me give a little preamble, if I may, for the benefit of the folks here and the public. So, under the historic code, which is chapter 65, the board has within its authority the right to designate certain properties that it judges meet certain criteria as landmarks. And let me just enumerate what those are. Okay. The board may designate an individual property as a landmark if it possesses special character or historic or aesthetic interest or value as part of the cultural, political, economic, or social history of the locality, region, state, or nation, or is identified with historic personages, or embodies the distinguishing characteristics of architecture and style, is the work of a designer whose work has significantly influenced an age, or because the unique location or singular physical characteristic represents an established and familiar visual feature of the village. And, okay. And in the case of buildings that are already in the historic district, as is the case of 209 Windmill Lane, the designation of a landmark is more honorific. It's honoring the property. Because as falling in the section of the historic code, because it's already in the historic district, it already requires a certificate of appropriateness for any construction or alteration of the property. And so this is more honorific than not. And we have done it with a very limited number of properties. I'd like to see Southampton do it with more properties, but among those are properties, and I see CMAC here, properties he worked on, the barber shop, as well as the village and the town's request to landmark the Pirates Concert House. And so what we did in this case, and again, I'm sharing this for the benefit of the public and the board knows, is we engaged our historic consultant to do a study of the property, and she came back with an extensive report, and which fully supports that this is a very historic and notable property, and meets all the criteria, which I just had a second ago. I had Sally's report. There's Sally's report. And she concludes, and Bonnie, I know when I spoke to you, I said I was going to give you a copy. I hope you got one. I was remiss.
You're going to give me an opportunity to speak?
Oh yeah, of course, most definitely. And I'll give you my copy of this.
That's mine.
Oh,
You
that's
can
your
have mine
copy.
if you like.
Not
But
only,
you can
not
have
only am I
mine.
forgetful, but I purloin stuff every once in a while. And it's the survival, she concludes, the survival of this structure is critically important as there are far too few surviving structures so closely affiliated with the Southampton Village's African American community. As opposed to an historical marker identifying the former location of a structure that no longer survives, a formally acknowledged and preserved structure provides a live and ongoing opportunity for residents and visitors to learn about its cultural past and whole identity. The Bethel Presbyterian Church should be considered for landmark designation within the village of Southampton as it meets the following criteria. 1, it does possess special character or historic or aesthetic interests of value as part of the cultural, political, economic, and social history and locality, and so on. And she adds further that the property significantly helps narrate the village's social, religious, and cultural history, especially regarding its Native American and African American population. It is indeed identified with historic personages. An extensive search here was not undertaken, but there are many references here, and I know, Bonnie, you had made some when we spoke. It does embody the distinguishing characteristics of a particular architectural style, is the work of a designer who has significantly influenced in age, but more importantly, because of its unique location and singular physical characteristic, represents an established and familiar visual feature of the neighborhood. So for all these reasons, the historic consultant recommends that it be landmarked. And again, it's already within the historic district. So other than some nuances that you're more familiar with in terms of the guidelines of the, falling under the National Register, if you could share that with us, and I think it would be helpful for the property owners.
Well,
Okay.
one of the striking things, in addition to its association and history, is that it is in remarkable state of intactness, and you just don't really find that. I mean, it's a structure that every time you drive by, it's like, how does this exist?
Exactly.
How has this been maintained so well? And then when Sally started looking at, at some of the associations and how it was paid for and who kicked in and how it has been maintained, I think we were all very excited to have it not only be in the district, but as a cultural landmark. And with this sort of designation, also, I think will come. I know of one person who would love to contribute to, like maintenance costs and things like that. And from a landmark standpoint, that would be quite wonderful. But I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Right. Gentlemen, do you have any comments?
No, I have had my eye on that structure ever since I moved to Southampton 25 years ago, and I just think it's so worthy of not only the designation, but the restoration to bring it back to what it was, 50, 75 years ago.
Or maintenance costs.
Or maintenance costs at the very
Because
bare
because of
minimum.
all the wood involved, it's not an inexpensive
Yeah.
prospect.
Yeah.
So I know, Bonnie, from speaking to you, you had some concerns and some reservations. So why don't you come up and, as the property owner, please, and tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you all for having me here tonight. My name is Bonnie Cannon. I am the Executive Director for the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreational Center, and our mission is that we are a historically Black, community-based institution who serve all Easton marginalized children and families, and we have been in inception for the past 70-plus years, and doing that for the past 70-plus years. I'm also a resident for the village of Southampton as well. So I guess one of my concerns was that not per se whether or not it needs to be landmark designated. My concern was that with it being having such a rich history, from the African American and then I believe the indigenous people as well, that we were not made aware of any discussions. We were not included in any discussions. We were not I had to hear it through the grapevine, through someone that was just happened to be looking in the village and seeing that it had already been discussed on the agenda. And I know that in the past, especially in the past when there are discussions, especially with the property owner is at least alerted before discussions take place, brought into that discussion, and made a part of it and to be included in in the discussions. So that was my major concern, is to I want to be, it is a historically black historic and yes, a very important designated place in our history. So I would at least like to be included in any discussions before any decisions are made prior to that. Because to be honest with you, there are plans to restore the building, and there are plans to not only restore the building, but to restore it in such a way that it is very valuable and very impactful and very rewarding to the very community whose history that this is being placed under. So, that is pretty much, I have not had from the time that we talked, I hadn't seen any type of report. I know that, I called you out of the blue because I was like, somebody called me off the street telling me that this had happened, and I didn't even know anything about it. So, and at the board, we are a 501c3, designated 501c3. I do have a board that I report to. I would like to be able to have the opportunity, and we have a couple of our board members that are in the audience here that are very familiar with the historic value of that building. I do believe that Dan Rettina, who is my vice chair, is actually on the Zoom link, because the only thing that I had opportunity to do was last Thursday at our board meeting to let them know that, listen, this is happening, not really sure everything, what's going on, we haven't really known. So my thing is that, at least give us the common courtesy of, having discussions with my board, even, interacting with you all if need be, before any type of decisions are made as to, the benefits and, just what we're doing. We just want to be a part of the conversation for something that is a part of our history, and to, say that we had some say-so in, what is being done, with this particular building.
I mean, I'm embarrassed, and we should all be embarrassed that
The intent, that's for sure.
no,
I think that's
that
uniform.
nobody had made that I knew that it had been Bridgehampton because there was a building that was proposed behind it, and we were very concerned about the impact that building might have on your wonderful structure. So I for one, am very embarrassed that this is the case. And moving forward, I would imagine that.
Of course.
And just so that you know, I don't know if you're familiar with the Bridgehampton Child Care Recreational Center, but we have 6 acres that, we have just built a edifice down, a 7,000 square foot edifice. And as part of that, we did speak to the community regarding the old house that was there that we had been in for several years. It was dated back, I think, 1920s or whatever. But the community said, okay, we understand because that building is so old that it would not benefit us from a cost standpoint for us to actually, just to make sure that we rehabilitate it, but to basically, make the outside of it to look the same as the old building. And we did do that. We did do that. It's a beautiful building if you've seen that, and if you see the part of it, it looks just like our old building with the porch and everything. Everything is the same. So we do take in consideration the history of the building, and there's documents and things that once we get the interior renovated, that we're planning on putting the history on the wall so that individuals, when they can come in, they can see that and they can understand the history. But We want to be able to present our history and make sure
Absolutely.
that we have,
I mean,
word into that.
The great thing is, it sounds like we have common, goals in mind for the property, so that's fantastic. And personally, I would love to hear more of the history of the building itself. I was shocked with the report we received from our, from Sally, of the deep history of the building. So I'm thrilled that.
You have a couple of ladies here that can tell you the history of it. They've lived it, and so that they're here. And I see Dan is there waiting. So I don't know, Dan, did you want to?
Well, let me make one brief comment. That designating a property as a landmark, especially one that's in the historic district, again, is more honorary than anything else. And that this board has no authority, no capability of doing anything to that building without the property owner doing it, unless it's something, a building department issues something like that. But this board can only designate something to be historic. Now, this is already in the historic district, so it's more honorary than anything else. Now, when you're ready to come back with plans of what you want to do, CMAC knows the process, and we worked with him on the barber shop.
And just so you know, I am a founder of the African American Museum as well.
Yeah.
I'm one of the founders.
And so, again, like I said, this board is, by dint of its limitations and also by its desires, wants to include the property owner. It's not doing anything unilateral. So again, it's more honorarial than anything else. And we would hope that would provide some benefit to you, whether it be in fundraising or whether it be in national recognition or whether it be, however you choose to use it. Most people are pretty proud to say, our building is a national landmark, or at least in this case, a village landmark.
And we may be proud to say, but just give me a chance to chance to research it and to look at it, from my standpoint as well.
Can I just clarify, this is the first discussion that the board has had. The board has not previously discussed this matter.
Right.
Well, they may not have discussed it, but it was definitely put on the.
You should have known it was on.
I should have known that it was on the agenda, and it was on
It was
there.
on the agenda, and the mailing wasn't done properly, so we did not hear it.
We did not hear it last, yeah.
The
Right.
mailing was done properly this time, so we're hearing it.
Right, but just so that you know, it wasn't done properly, and I made a call.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's how that you did it properly, so that you know.
No, actually, timing on that, just to be clear, you called me
Yes.
after we had the meeting in which we did not hear it, and I explained to you that your concerns are valid but not appropriate but not valid in this case, because we did not hear it because Alice pointed out that it was not properly noticed. It was on the agenda, but that you and the other people who should have been notified were not. And therefore, we did not hear it. So this is the first occasion. You're in the mix, you're in this room, we're hearing from you.
Right.
And I think we're of a like
And just so
mind.
that you know, when you get that certification back, the certified letter back, I don't know what happened. I don't know when you specifically sent it out, but I didn't.
I don't do the mailings, the building department does.
Okay, well, let me just finish.
Yeah.
I did not receive that certified mail until last week. So I'm just letting you know that I did not sign on the certified mail. I didn't know that I even had certified mail till last week. I understand that it might have sat there in the post office or whatever. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying that I did not.
Okay.
And you'll get the card back from the certified mail that shows you when it was signed and when I received it.
So the code does not require return receipt requested, so that might be why.
Okay, I don't.
It should. Well,
Yeah, I had to sign for it at the post office.
From what I'm hearing, at the end of the day, you would have appreciated a phone call.
Yeah, of course. from the
So
very
let's be honest, what I'm hearing is.
Let's
you
just boil it
appreciate
down
a
to
phone
that.
call, And I think you probably
Yeah,
deserve
that's,
that.
that's all I'm saying.
And I
and
apologize.
we owe you an apology.
So.
Yeah, I
Because
just.
there's what, is required, but also honestly.
Yeah, just a common courtesy.
Phone calls are good.
Just a
But I do
common
feel like
courtesy.
we're working at this, we're working towards
Yeah,
the same
I
end,
think that, I think
because
so
do.
as well, because we all want to do the best thing that's best for the preservation and for the
And
building
to be honest,
itself.
yeah, we look at it as the structure.
Yeah.
And since the 2 years I've been on the board, there have been many times that like, what is going on with that structure? We have to make sure it's preserved,
It's
because
preserved,
there's
it's
a lot
Yes.
of passion on here
Yeah.
on this board for that specific structure.
Yeah.
Which is why we wanted to enter into this conversation about it.
Okay.
Because
So
we all.
The outcome is good then.
Yeah.
for-
Great, great. You have to let my vice chair,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
my
no,
boss, so you got to let him speak.
We're
Let's
welcome
talk to your boss.
to hear him and anybody else who wants to speak.
Right, I have my boss here and then my other two bosses here, so you got to let them talk if they want to talk.
Process aside, I have a feeling we're all heading for the same goal.
Right,
So-
correct protocol.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few things on this. I'm vice president of the Child Care Center, and I've been on the board almost 20 years. And one of the things that we are doing at this point, we bought this building some years ago, about 5 years ago now. And we had a rough idea of something we wanted to do, but wasn't put together just yet. And we've had meetings with Sammy, who's our local architect, I'm sure you know, and he's coming up with some plans and ideas for us. And I think that, in a way, I think it's wonderful that it's our intention to not touch a hair on its head, you know. And I think that we're going to be working with you in a way that will be very beneficial for the whole project, and we're looking forward to it.
We're also hoping that this process brings it attention to more people that actually may help you with fundraising to restore it. So there's a lot of hope here. Yes.
I have been working with Bonnie and the board for the past, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years. This is a slow project, but sometimes slow projects are better. Basically, when I basically mentioned about the designation of landmark status to Bonnie, she was concerned as to what kind of restrictions that would put on her. And I did mention to her that there's not really much of a restriction as long as we appreciate what we really like. And that is the case with everybody, including the board and all the board of this building, that we do want to preserve this building to its fully intact situation. However, in most of these types of projects, one of the key things is that how to give a new life to a historic building is to give it a new function. It's not going to be a church or a religious property. And being that this is a Bridgehampton Child Care Center, we are looking into creating some sort of a space to help the community as far as advising them, guiding them, and so on. There used to be a kitchen downstairs in the lower level. At some point, we even discussed about creating a community kitchen. But because this site is such a small site, and the health department, the Suffolk County Health Department, has jurisdiction over that, we really cannot bring that back to life. Although I think that would have been the best function for something of this nature. The other aspect of it is, as we all know, when it gets to restoration, renovation, and giving a new function to a building, are issues, functional issues, such as, for instance, parking. And again, if you look at the site plan, when I do come in front of you, hopefully soon, is that this property does not have, this property does not have much of a boundary around it. It's basically the building and a few feet on either direction. And I'm saying really few feet because the properties in the back are owned by the property next door. So my question is that, is it possible in this process of designation of a historic building that the board could also make some sort of a recommendatory advice to the trustees to extend any kind of commitment from the village towards giving this building a new life. And I'll give you an example, for instance. We are right now talking to Tate's across the street, and a block, not even a block, a property next to us is the dog park, which has a huge parking over there. If we can tap into these types of parkings, that would basically we have no parking available right now, no parking. And you can't even park on the street over there. You can't even park on the side street over there. So it's not that there's any kind of a function that would not need the days of walking in this village. Of course, that's the beauty of this village, that it is walkable. But at some point, there are requirements per zoning that we need to provide some parking. So if your recommendation towards this landmark status could also provide some sort of a recommendation in the absence of actually specifics that the village could extend assistance towards this new functional life for the future of this building, for it to become a functional building, that would be appreciated very much.
So each board, and this may have to go through a few boards.
Correct.
Each board has its own code, its own charter. And it can only act within the confines of its jurisdiction, its purview, and its authority. And so this board is the Architectural Review Board, and the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. Our emphasis in this case is first the historic preservation, second with the architecture, but that's the limit of where we can go. So in terms of the planning board and how it may designate the use of this property, that falls into their bucket. If there are variances required, if it's outside the building code, that falls within their bucket. Now, that doesn't mean that things have to be done in such a way that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And I think Bonnie makes a very good point, and you do too, Sammy, which is, if we are all concerned about this property and its history, and we think it's deserving of landmark status, and whether that's given or not, it doesn't matter. It's still within the historic district. And so, can there be coordination? Yes, there can be coordination. We have a person in the building department, Alex Wallach, who's the director of planning. Part of his job is to help orchestrate that. It doesn't guarantee it. Now, this board has, on occasion, when a variance is required, that the zoning board may refer a property to us and say, gee, this is historic, before we grant any variances, or the planning board may be the same, before we allow it to be used a certain way or designate parking, we'd like the historic board to weigh in on it. So that coordination can and should take place, and it should include the director of planning. It should include the property owner, Bonnie, and whoever on her board is working on that, and so that we do it in a coordinated fashion. That would be my wish.
Yes. I mean,
and I hope it's yours too.
We were kind of thrust into this since we're not ready to come in front of any of the boards. And since we already are in front of this board in the absence of any application, and this board is going to be the first board that takes some initiative towards the future of this building, without any specifics, without any details that it may come in front of you or any of the other boards. All I'm requesting is that if there's going to be some sort of a general commentary towards in the process of this landmarking towards further further expression of cooperation towards giving this building a new life between the various boards.
I think
I think a language like that would help other boards feel a little bit responsible towards this cooperation.
To the extent that there's cooperation, and what comes out of that cooperation is perhaps some recommendations, that's always possible. But again, each board has to operate within its code.
Of course.
To quote Alice, we can't predict the future.
Yes.
But But understand that, like, our real goal and our passion about this, because again, the property behind that property, we had done some extensive looking at it, and then we were driving by it even more. And our goal was to do things to honor the structure, and to bring attention to it, and that's what Landmark does, because it's already in the historic district, and to help protect it a little bit. Just because it's such an important piece of history in the village.
It is one of the most beautiful.
That's our goal here. Once we understand what your bigger plan is, other conversations that could happen where we might or might not have influence, I can't really say.
Of course.
But no, clearly you have people sitting here who care about the structure, care about it, and care about its history, and really want to partner with you to make sure that everyone understands what its history is in the future.
Absolutely.
And we have trustees that are assigned to our
our
bars.
cause.
So I mean, they also will be aware of what's going on.
I would appreciate it. Thank you.
You might find that there are some preservation funds that are only available to landmark structures.
Correct. That's another advantage in this
Yes.
process, that
kind
it
of our
makes us
hope.
eligible both for state and federal grants
Exactly.
for historical
Exactly.
landmark buildings.
Exactly.
So in that sense, it's good. But ultimately, and
Well,
just
we understand where you're going.
Right, yeah.
And when we are there, we will understand that too.
Thank you.
I think we are actually working to the same.
Here's a
same
hard
good
copy
goal.
of Sally's report. Do you, unless you already have it?
She gave it to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I gave you mine.
Okay.
And that obviously will be added to based on, on your input. So,
Yeah,
Right.
and it's
Okay.
also,
Thank you.
if we do landmark it and we find there are funds available, it's also the background you'll need
Yeah.
to apply for them, which is helpful.
Well, I hope that you don't landmark it before we.
No, of
Oh,
course
no,
not.
no,
Say
no,
that.
No.
As Alice said, we put it on as the beginning of a discussion
I
tonight.
thank
Yeah,
you, thank you
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
I look forward
Of
to
course.
having more discussions.
Great,
course.
great.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Do other,
what's
do
good?
the other ladies
Did-
want
I
to?
asked the ladies if they said they didn't know.
Okay.
Speak. I don't know if there are, Dan, are you the only person that's on, any other board members on the line? That want to speak, any of my other bosses up there?
I promise you there'll be an opportunity for bring all your bosses. We'll support you in that.
I think we'll see a lot of back and forth.
Okay, great. So,
Does he have anything else to say?
are you all set?
So Alice, our next step is here too.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay.
Okay. So one, I move that we adjourn the landmark designation review of 209 Windmill Lane. And that going forward, we seek to engage with the property owner on further discussion. And then when you folks are ready for plans, we'll take it up there. So,
I will second that.
okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Good. All right, and it is now 9 o'clock, and everybody should be home. Or going home. So I move that we adjourn this meeting of the Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation, Monday, the 26th, 2022, and it is almost exactly 9 o'clock. So, second by John, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right.